Technical Manager, 5G Solutions Private Limited, Pune from 2013 to 2014. Sir also worked as the Technical Team Lead at 4G's Development Tools India Private Limited, Pune from 2007 to March 2013. Sir also worked as the project leader at Sutra Systems India Private Limited from January 2002 to December 2007. Sir worked as the senior software engineer at Hold Software India Private Limited from July 2001 to June, December 2002. Sir also worked as the senior software engineer at Aptech Infosys Limited, Pune from January 1998 to July 2001. So today we have such an eminent personality with us. So without taking so much time, now I request Deshpande sir to start the session. Thank you. Over to Deshpande sir.
Thank you, Sagar sir. Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk to all these teachers. Okay. So good morning,
Welcome, sir.
everybody. Are you with me now? This
Yes, sir.
session, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Basically, yesterday I was in the session, which yesterday's session, and it was completely a technical session. You were able to do some coding, etc. And today, exactly opposite thing we have to do. Today we have actually a section which is concept based, so there is no code. Because if I start writing code, it is like for a particular language, and design patterns, architectures, they are not linked to a particular code or something to a particular language. It is just a concept. So to explain the concept, I will not get into much into the coding part, but the conceptual part. So I need everybody's participation. Otherwise, this session will become a bit boring. So it is better to keep on talking to each other. Okay, so I will keep on asking questions, or rather, you will have to ask me a lot of questions whenever you feel like I'm going out out track, or suppose you need to understand something more. You just keep on asking me questions. Okay. And to be very honest, it's like in 3 hours, it is really difficult to complete all the design patterns and all the framework related or architecture related part. But what I want from this session is kickstart. You should be self-sufficient to start with understanding of design patterns, why to use design patterns, and what are the principles, how exactly software design works, not the development. Because whenever you talk about any software, the first part is requirement understanding. Once you're done with the requirement understanding, then you go with the design part. So that's how software design works. Okay, and then the language comes into the picture. Okay, before that, the designing part is completely independent of language. As Sagar sir already told, I'm working as a principal solution consultant, so I cannot stick to a particular language. I have to understand what is good for my client and have to propose them, like you have to use this particular application which is developed in so and so language, and some other application which is developed in other language. So I cannot be relying on one language. So that's why I have not included much of coding part in today's session, but the understanding part or the conceptual parts I have included in the session. So let's start with the session. Okay, I will just share my screen. Give me a moment. Okay, so I will start with a small video which I like basically. This is the Dana car simulation. Okay, if you really check the car, when they are creating the car or manufacturing the car, they have started with manufacturing the engine, and slowly the engine parts are getting assembled. Okay, when you talk about assembling an engine part, look at the small parts there, and they are connecting to each other on some connectors. Okay, so now the engine has got prepared. It was started with something else, and that is the wheel assembly, or the yeah. The engine has sat on that wheel now. So look at the interfaces. So what they have done, they have first prepared the engine, then the steering assembly complete, then that steering they have attached that steering assembly on the engine. Now the wheel assembly or the chassis is getting manufactured. Now it is getting attached to each other. So the most important part is all these parts are getting created or assembled separately, getting manufactured separately, then getting assembled. Okay, and finally the car has got prepared and it has gone on it. Okay, so our software industry is exactly the same. Rather, we have borrowed all our principles from other industries. There are very less principles. Rather, in my opinion, there are no principles. Those are from software development industry. Whatever principles we have borrowed from other industries, like say mechanical industry or the automobile industry. Most importantly, what we are talking about is design pattern and all that stuff. So the basic fundamental is from the construction industry. So all these things are happening. Okay, so we are borrowing all our principles, all our understanding related parts from other industry. So as you have seen, like while manufacturing car is the last product of our process. But what we have done, we have assembly line. So we are assembling engine, we are assembling wheels, we are assembling different assemblies and connecting them together. So just assume that that connection, if the connectors are not proper, what will happen? Okay, if the connectors are not proper, what will happen? Everything will fall down, right? Even if a small connector, which is like yes ma'am, sorry. So even if a small screw, if it doesn't fit properly, what will happen? The complete car will collapse. So there will be some major problem in that car, even if a small screw doesn't work properly. Exactly same thing happens in software industry also. If one component start behaving in wrong way, the complete application goes down. And it is really difficult to find out where is the problem when it is a big application. Okay. So any question on this? Hello, everybody. Any question on this, or you have understood everything?
Okay, sir,
No
we can
question,
proceed.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Understood, sir.
I am expecting interactive session. Please, please. Okay. Yep. So,
Maybe
shall we
the
start?
first,
Pardon me.
maybe the first advice will be we should be ensure the finer details also. We should concentrate on more finer details also, like the screws activate in the connector.
Perfect, 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 Rajesh sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So what I will do is I will just share one experience with you. Like in my career in 2001, 2002, I was working with Sutra Systems, and I have been asked to develop a logger class for a particular CAD/CAM product. So I was in CAD/CAM product development and was very new in Sutra Systems when I have started there. So that time, just to test my knowledge or just to understand how exactly I work, they have given me a small project, rather a small application, which will rather class, which will allow us to log the debug log or say information log. So that is how I have started my journey in Sutra Systems. So that log they have asked me to start with. So the requirement was pretty simple. Whenever you come across any customer, your boss, anybody, when you get the requirement, it is pretty simple. Let's consider an example of log. There will be multiple level of logs. Might be debug log, error log, warning log, info log, verbose log. So when I talk about verbose log, I need to output the variables also. Okay, and the values of those variables also. So all these things I need there, and you have say hardly a week to complete this. Okay, so I have started thinking how exactly I should be able to start with the log class. And to be very honest, that time I was not very accustomed with all this design fundas, because I was just having hardly 1999 2000, so it's 2 years of experience. And that time it's like C++ assembly. So in assembly, it is fairly straight programming in assembly. So these patterns and all that stuff, I was not at all aware about. Then what I have done is like just started with a small class. Okay. In that class, I have taken a string, which is a file, which is a hard-coded string, and just kept a logout type of method in which, when I say dot dot dot, it is like multiple parameters you can give, similar to printf. Okay, it's in C, or say C out, and there is a container class which will actually instantiate this logger class, and then it will keep on logging in this particular file. So it is pretty simple, right? So you will be agree with me that this is the pretty straightforward class. Then started the main magic. Okay, the only one part which I have seen in last 22 years, that which is constant in software industry, is change. Even if the requirement is same, the change you will keep on getting continuously. Okay, so as soon as I submitted that class, some of my team members used it, and my manager came back to me. He asked me, man, you have done this particular class, can you just do some changes? A log file should not be more than 10K size, and I need a module wise log file. You cannot just write everything in one file. I cannot debug it, I cannot understand it. That time when I was working on that particular application, it's like we were installing that application in a small, what you can say, a small box, and that box we are giving to the customer. It wasn't a computer. Okay, so testing it on computer is difficult. So we used to write all these logs in log file, used to get that log files back, and used to read those files and debug the things. But the way I have written that log file, log class, everything failed. Like they were impressed, like logging is done, but how exactly? We are not able to understand which module logging out what. So they have given me just two things. First is like size should not cross 10K. As soon as it crosses 10K, create a new file. Don't go for the same file. And after say few files, just delete earlier files and continue with the new files. So module wise log they were needing. So what I have done is I have added this str module there. Then size. So I was thinking a bit smartly. So I have kept the size also. Tomorrow, if my boss tells me to change tile size from 10K to 20K, what I will do? So I have kept the size also. Okay, and just added two more methods: set module and set limit size. That's it. Again, I have given this particular class to my colleagues. They were happy. They have to compile their entire project just to incorporate my small class. The reason is pretty simple. If you check, there is no interface. What I have done is the container was instantiating the class. So linking has to be done once again. There is no way out. That's why just for a small change in the application, they have to recompile the complete application, rebuild the application. That was first lesson I have learned there, that you should not allow your team to rebuild their own code for your code. Okay. Then what I have done is like, uh, what happened is like, I was assuming some log directory, and one of my colleague failed, but he has forgotten to create that log directory, and the log creation failed. Now this is a bug. They came back to me and they just told me like, Sachin, what you have done here, even if a simple folder is not there, you are not creating that folder. You are not taken care of creating the folder in your log class. What is this going on? So I have added a what you can say private method in which I used to check whether the folder is there or not. Okay, if the folder is there, then I used to create the file. Because what used to happen is like, I am working with the current directory. In current directory, I have to go to log directory, and in log directory, I have to work with, I have to create the files. So current directory will always be there. It is not possible that there is no current directory. But log directory, I will have to create. So check and create the folder. This particular method I have added, and I have given it back to my team. Again, a twist. As soon as I given this to my team, they have started checking it, and now they have decided like, we will make an architecture out of this, the complete architecture, and this should work on Windows platform properly, not only with the box which we were selling. It is with Windows also. This application should work, because we wanted to sell it in different countries, or the product, which was like, I think we used to call it as Simon or something like that. I don't remember exact name. So they have asked me to put all the error logs in event log. Now it's a problem for me. So what I have done is, I have added all those event log related stuff in this file itself. Okay. So I have added a log type because I have also started thinking about design. So I have added a log type with enum, whether it is a file log or an event log. Tomorrow, if somebody come up with database put that log into database, maybe say what you can say audit logs, so that can be possible. So I have started thinking about future, and I have added an enum over there, and in enum I have put the log type. Okay. And after putting that log type, when it is like logout, in logout I used to take all the care. Okay. That is done. I have given this particular code to my team. They have started using it. They were happy. Everything was going good. And my architect came back to me, and he has scolded me like anything. I have never got scolded like that. How it means, do you really understand what you have done? Okay. He has just asked me, do you really understand what you have done? I told him, like, this is the simple class. You have asked me to just create a log class. I have created that log class. Whatever functionality you are expecting, everything is working fine. Then what is your problem? Why you are just talking to me like this? Can you just guess what was the problem? Can anybody tell me what I was missing there? This is the start of understanding software design principles in my life. So can you just tell me what is the problem in this class where I am failing? Anybody?
As we are sharing the same file, there has to be one object to be created.
For what? Yeah,
Uh,
one object we need to create. Absolutely. So I have to have only one object. Then what? What is the problem? What is the problem with this class? Why that architect was so annoyed with me? Can you tell me one thing? I will ask you a few questions. What will happen? I have the complete application. This class needs to get instantiated. That is the most important point here. The class needs to get instantiated. I cannot just link it with something else. It has to get instantiated. It implies in any module, wherever I am using this class, I will have to recompile that module as soon as I make a change in this class, right? Is it right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I need to recompile that the entire module, it implies I'm breaking that module itself, right? That's the first thing. Okay. Second is, can you see what all things I'm doing in this class? It is a logger class. I'm asking that logger class to log out in a file. I'm asking that logger class to log the data into event log. I'm asking that logger class to log the data into database. Tomorrow, if something new comes, I'm asking that logger class to do that also. Okay. So he has just given me a link, a very good link. Our Bob uncle has told us or given us a very good thing, which is called as solid principles. So he said, can you just go through those solid principles and can you just understand what mistakes you have done in this class? So that's the first incident when I came across these solid principles. We will again go to those solid principles. I will come back to this particular presentation once again, but before that, I will go to that solid principle presentation. Okay. Where is it? Okay. I'm just jumping a bit, but please bear with me. And then we will again go through the complete presentation. Now, what solid is saying, when you talk about solid, Robert C. Martin, he's still alive, and he has came up with the solid principles. We call him, like in the software industry, we call him Uncle Bob. Okay. So he has a lot of things which he has given to software industry. Okay. So he has came up with this solid principles. What is this solid principle? First is single responsibility principle. Can you just remember our log class? Is it following the single responsibility principle? What do you mean by single responsibility principle? Second principle is open close. Third one is Lisco's substitution principle. This is Lisco's principle because Barbara Lisco has come up with this principle. Interface segregation principle and dependency inversion principle. So what is single responsibility principle? When I talk about single responsibility principle, it says a class should have only a single responsibility. So if I just check my logger class, it is miserably failed here, right? The logger class says I can log out to a file so that I can write a file. I can write log to a file. At the same time, I'm writing my log to an event log. At the same time, I'm also working as a say what you can say audit logger, where I'm logging my log into a database. So everything I try to push into one class, and that is where I failed. So the single responsibility principle says a class should have only a single responsibility. Okay, only one potential change in an application requires in an application requirement should change the class, not multiple. For example, if somebody tells me that I need to log out to a particular file, I need that file naming convention to be in a particular manner. Still, I am changing my event logger. Still, I am changing my database logger. If I want to move from one database to another database, still I am working with the event log and the what you can say the file log. So it implies multiple requirements or multiple completely mutually exclusive requirements are making me to change my class, right? So that is where I miserably failed in single responsibility principle. Now comes the open close principle. A class should be open for extension but closed for modification. I have not understood what is this here. It should be open for extension but closed for modification. What it means? So if you want to extend the functionality of a class, what you will have to do is you will have to create a subclass. Okay, you have to inherit one class from an interface and then create one new class which will what you can say which will complete the whatever requirement our bosses or say client is giving us. Okay, and in our application what we have done, I have not even created a single interface, and that's where I failed. Open close principle is completely failed. So what it said, a class which sorts database which sorts data set should be open to sort using multiple sorting algorithm, but should be closed for any other changes. Similarly, if I want to do logging, the class should be open for adding more methods of logging. So event log, database log, file log, or calling a REST API for some other logging system, sending an SMS like this is an error, you have to get like you should be alert that this is an error, you have to come and attend it. So that is also I can say logger class responsibility, but that log is different. So you have to come up with a particular interface, and that interface you should keep on implementing. Okay, not changing the class all the time. Changing class implies you are breaking the functionality. So I have completely failed in open close principle. Then Lisco substitution principle. What Lisco substitution principle says? The object of a superclass shall be replaceable with the object of subclass without breaking the application. Now, when I don't have a superclass and subclass, how can I do this? So I'm not able to even do this particular thing. For example, the object of a superclass, the logger class, I should be able to replace the logger class object with C event logger class, or C file logger class, or C database logger class, or C SMS logger class, or C mail logger class, email logger class. So all these things I was not doing. So I have miserably failed here also. Okay, it wants developer to extend classes carefully. Add methods in base class should not be overridden by, say, have you understood what I have written? Add method in base class should not be overridden by subtract method. Okay, the basic thing is I am writing a calculator. I am writing two different calculators or three different calculators. One calculator a method for integer, one for string, and one for say real numbers. So in string, I should not say that when a plus b. So I will just give you the subset of say what is the subset of a with respect to b. I should not do that. I should concatenate these two things. So the meaning of the method in an interface should not be changed inside an application. Okay, inside a derived class. That is what the Lisco substitution principle is saying. As we have not used anything, any interface, I failed there also. Now interface segregation principle. You will understand what I'm saying over here. Okay, client should not be forced to depend upon the interfaces they do not use. Now this logger class is a reusable class. Do you agree with me? So if it is reusable class, do you think that everybody will use event log, file log, and the database log? Do you think so?
No.
If we are not going to use, if everybody is not going to use all these three things, why I am giving it to them? Why I am asking them to depend upon all these methods, which is not needed, and that's where I failed, right? So rather than creating on one big, sorry, it is on, it should be one. Rather than creating one big interface, divide the functionality into multiple interfaces and allow client to implement those small interfaces. Can you give me an example of this? Do you remember some example of this? Anybody of you who has worked in Windows can give me this example? Even say maybe, have anybody worked on Excel, the VBA programming? I need an example of this particular interface segregation principle from you people. I'm just waiting. Can you give me an example?
I think when we are working with macros, we can go with the different functionality because the macros involve a different set of actions to be completed. So each action pertaining to that module will be written in a separate interface, so that that particular interface can be used as a
Perfect, sir. So if you really check, when you talk about macros, you must be knowing something about workbook, right? With workbook,
yes.
you have some interfaces or some methods in workbook. But if you really check, that workbook contains sheet, okay, and that sheet has few more interfaces, few more functions. You are not enforcing a person who is using only workbook to use the sheet interface. When
Sir,
you have sheet, yep.
yes, sir, it is also there in C sharp.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about C sharp, when you talk about VBA, basically C sharp uses all of them are COM object. When I talk about COM, it is not the normal COM, it is OLE, object
Yes,
embedded and linking, right? So these
yes,
nowadays rather than nowadays, Windows has started giving all their object in form of COM. Okay, so if you
yes,
remember, if anybody of you have worked with COM, there is something called as the interface you need to get co-create instance or all these things. So they are separated in different interfaces. You will not get all the methods of one COM component in one small interface. You will get n number of interfaces. Okay, so do not ask your client to use same interfaces for what you can say, and like for all functionality, do not use one interface, segregate it. Okay, group them and ask client to use that group. Okay, so shall I go ahead with the dependency inversion principle?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so in dependency inversion principle, program to an interface, not to an implementation. Okay, what it means, the terms seems to be very difficult, but they are pretty simple. Okay, the high level module must not depend upon a low level module, but it should depend upon abstraction. What we have done, if you remember what we have done exactly opposite thing. We have given the class to our high level module and asked the application to use my C logger class. Is that right? As per this principle. Have you got what is this principle, the dependency inversion principle? I'm expecting some response from you people. Please, please. I'm a whiteboard teacher. I won't be able to just keep on telling you what exactly is going on. I need a response from you.
Yes, sir.
So can you just tell me what is this dependency inversion principle all about? Because we have to teach it to our students also. Just give me a moment. I'm not.
I think the hierarchy should be like top up,
Absolutely.
top down principle. Top down principle. Sorry.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I do agree with you. Okay. So anything else, like for example,
Sir, in substitution principle,
hmm,
sir, in the substitution principle, is it you are trying to say that like the methods which are declared as public in base class can be utilized in a subclass without creating an object?
well, it is not without creating an object. So we will come to those design patterns also, because if you have an interface, it unless and until you have a concrete class associated with that interface, okay, you cannot use it. Some
Yes.
implementation is needed.
Yes.
When I say the high level module must not depend upon the low level module. For example, if I want to log out something, okay, in a file, so that is the responsibility of C logger file logger class. So what that file logger class should do, the file logger class should have self-sufficient stuff. It should read and ini file, or ini means the properties file, and from that file it should understand to which in which file I need to write the log. What is the expected size of that file? How should I? What should be the nomenclature of the file? How should I define the name of that file? Okay, so all this should be in an ini file or a properties file for that particular class. So I have an interface which says it is an iLogger interface. So I will just write that code for you. Give me a moment. The code means actually a simple stuff here. How exactly it should look. Okay. Just can somebody admit people if they are joining? Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
what we will have to do is like say maybe I will use the pseudocode interface. Okay, iLogger. Okay, when I talk about iLogger, in Logger what I need pretty simple thing. In Logger, I need to get just a logout or just a log method. This method should contain a module, okay, and a string to log out, right? What else this should contain? Nothing else, okay. Now, when I want to instantiate a particular, so I'll say maybe a file logger, say maybe a class, I will explicitly use C because generally I is there for interface and C is there for class. So file logger, okay, which should inherit this iLogger. Okay, this iLogger should implement this method. At the same time, it should have its own method like load parameters, okay, which will load all the parameters, how exactly you want to the file name to be, the log file name to be, how exactly you want to again get into the size of that file, where you want to break that file. All these things should be there. Then maximum one more method you have to put in logger, that is set log level, right? You can put a log level over there. Same here, set log level. Apart from that, these two methods, do you really think a logger needs anything else? This is the C logger. Okay, now I have one more class, which is DB logger. DB logger is really needed for audit logs. Okay, because whatever you are doing, you need to keep on logging it. In banks and insurance companies, you need it desperately. So in DB log, what I have to do, instead of load parameters, plus I need to connect to DB, right? The implementation of log will be different here. The implementation of log will be different here. One more class is again instead of DB logger, it is say event logger. Okay, so when you try to talk to event logger in init, or so you have an init method. In init method, you have to instantiate the logger or connect to a logger, connect to event log, and then actually in log you're supposed to do the logging part. So this is how it should get segregated. Now, if you really want to use the file logger, then what you have to say that the internal method, what the application will do something like this. Say logger iLogger is equal to new, maybe event logger. Right, we can do this, right? Because event logger is the child class of iLogger. It is inherited from iLogger. So I can anyways create this event logger, and no, this is possible. This is how it works. Okay, this is how it works. iLogger. So when you talk about iLogger, so new event logger, you cannot typecast in opposite way. From iLogger to event logger, you cannot go unless and until the end object is event logger object, or the created object is event logger object. Pardon me? The object is event logger. You cannot create an object of iLogger because it is an interface. Interface, you cannot create an object of an interface on an abstract class, right? Because so you have to create the object of the concrete class, and this is a concrete class. Just a minute. I was not actually looking at the chat. Can we use the abstract class virtual function? Absolutely. So virtual functions are nothing but you are in interface, you are putting the virtual functions. The abstract class can be used here. So there is no problem if you are using abstract class or an interface. That's where the problem is actually. What happens is, like in few of the design pattern, you might need to use multiple inheritance, and that is not allowed in Java. In Java, one abstract class and many interfaces can be inherited in one class. Okay, now what I have said, if you really check where this client should not force to, yeah, in interface segregation principle, we have to create multiple interfaces. We cannot depend on one interface, and we have to implement those interfaces. So in Java, if you really want to achieve this interface segregation principle, there is no way out than to use the interface than the abstract classes. Okay. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sir, may
Just
I
a minute.
ask one question?
Yeah. Any questions? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Actually, dependency inversion is relevant or related to the dependency injection.
What do you mean by that? Absolutely, dependency injection. Absolutely right.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
can you just invest few minutes to elaborate the thing? Because I heard that, but I never go into the depth.
Simple. Dependency inversion is again very simple. What I have done here, if you really check, if this is my client class, say class, okay. So what I'm doing is like this particular logger class, okay. This logger, the client depends upon the logger class, not upon the event logger class. Okay. Tomorrow, what we can do is after this, if you really check, okay, in our methods, so if there is some method where I want to log out, I will never say that I will not use this event logger. I will use this dot logout log. right? Now, if you check in event log, I have something called as set init, but that init is not visible here because my type is ilogger. Uh, okay, my type is ilogger. So init is not visible here. So my dependency is on interface, not on the implementation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, if you want to change this implementation from event logger to a DB logger, what I will have to do? Very simple. Go here, right? So this is DB logger. Nothing has changed in the implementation level. Only what changes creation. Now, when we talk about change in creation, you know that there are design patterns. Those deal with the creation part, creation of an object, right? We will get into that,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yep.
Yes.
So now I have an assignment for you people. Everybody of you, you have to do one assignment. I don't know whether we can do it in this session. I don't think so. But one assignment is this logger class which I have created, which is a completely wrong class which I have created here. Yeah. So can you try to create a proper logger class which will follow all the principles and send it to me? Okay, I will be available on somebody is let's see. Ah, actually here, sir. Some echo is there. I don't know because of whom, but the echo is there. Okay. Yeah, it's fine now. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So will you be doing this? Like just create a proper log class and send it to me. Is it possible? That's the simplest way to understand how exactly we are working on the design patterns. Okay. Okay. Anyways, I will be sharing all these presentations with you. That's not a problem. Okay. The first thing is how I have started with getting into this design patterns and the solid principle, etc. Okay, so I will be covering 23 design patterns, which in Gang of Four book, if you know Gang of Four book, in that book they have covered 23 design patterns, and all those design patterns. Yep. Okay, so all those design patterns we will touch. Okay, so before going to design pattern, I would like to tell you how exactly the design works. Okay, so I will again go to the main presentation and we'll start from here. If you really check the construction industry, how it works, we have a blueprint. These three are three different pictures. They are not related to each other. Okay, so what we do is we have a blueprint first. After the blueprint, we have skeleton, and after that skeleton, they actually come up with the building. So when you have the blueprint, exactly same skeleton you have to build. Okay. Once the skeleton is built properly, then you can do a lot of internal changes. So you know that whenever we buy an apartment, we do a lot of internal changes. Uh, Rarely what happens is like we take the apartment as it is, and then we start doing the changes. We break some walls, then add something else over there. We change our kitchen. So all that internal changes are possible in a particular apartment, but we are not touching the skeleton, beams and all those things. You are not touching, you're not allowed to touch, because if you break a beam, if you just remove a beam, then it is quite possible that there is a danger for that building itself. Exactly same happens in software industry also. Exactly same, there is no change. Okay, you have to come up with a blueprint, which is called high level design, low level design documents. You have to come up with that blueprint. As per that blueprint, you have to create a skeleton. When you talk about that skeleton is nothing but the framework. Okay, you are not allowed to change the framework. But using that for those framework, you can create any type of buildings, right? Or which is suited for that framework itself. You cannot say that if the framework supports say 10 people logging into my system at a time, and if you allow 100 people to log, the application will break. Why? Because framework doesn't support it, right? So first is the architecture. This is nothing but the architecture. Blueprint is nothing but the architecture. Architecture is a concept. It is not a concrete implementation. Framework is the concrete implementation of your architecture in a particular language, say Java, C, Python, C++, any language. So in this language, when you implement your architecture, it becomes framework. From that framework, you can use the framework and you can create your own applications. So even if this skeleton is there, you can create, at least within that skeleton, you can create multiple type of interior for your apartments, right? So this is how software works. It is pretty simple. First, design. Second, the framework. And third, actual application. Pretty simple. Are you with me? It is still good morning. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you.
Yes,
Very
sir.
much. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
sir.
Yeah. So now the next thing. Just a minute. Now, how application design journey works? First is the OOP concept. So you know
Sir,
object oriented. Yep. Yes, sir.
sir. Myself, Nilesh.
Yeah, Nilesh.
So one question. We
Yep.
are using various framework,
Right.
like for designing web application, designing mobile application, or variety of things are there.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
These frameworks are designed for the application development.
Absolutely.
Okay. But if I'm an application developer,
Right.
okay, so this framework or this entire subject, being an application developer, I'm using some third-party framework.
Right.
I'm not the framework designer.
Absolutely, sir.
So this subject is relevant those who are developing some framework. Is it that way?
It is not exactly that way. So when you develop a framework, it is must that you have to use this. Okay, because
Really, my
framework.
question is, if I am application developer, I am in developing suppose some hospital management ERP
Right.
entire.
Right.
So I'm using some framework. Okay,
Right.
based on that my application I am developing.
Right.
But being my application hospital management system, in that system, okay, can I design something which is a framework and which is used for customization of this software?
Absolutely, absolutely, you can use that. The reason I will tell you, framework gives you a basic funda. For example, when you talk about hospital management system, if you are going to implement the hospital management system for a say for a very huge hospital, you may need to add some of the functionalities. Those are not there in the framework itself. If you want to implement the same hospital management system for say different kind of hospitals, because if you check right now, the Ayurvedic hospitals are coming up like anything, but you will be using the same framework will not change. The basic pattern framework will give you that there will be rooms, there will be a patient, there will be doctors, the doctor and patient association, the checkups will be there, the definition of checkups will be there. But when it comes to actual implementation, the even if you yesterday you have seen the Node.js framework. In Node.js framework also, it doesn't provide you the what you can say domain specific implementation. Domain specific implementation you will have to do. Now when you talk about hospital management system, it is a hospital management, a generic domain. Now on top of that generic domain, what kind of hospital you are going to work with? So are you going to work with a chain of hospitals? If you are going to work with a chain of hospitals, you have to add some framework on top of that hospital management system so that all hospitals can get connected to a centralized system.
Okay,
Right.
okay, okay.
So
Okay.
this type of things you will have to do, because framework will never give you the end result. End result or the domain specific implementation will always go with you or the developer. Otherwise, this design concept will not be needed for, say, in my opinion, more than 80% of the software developer community, right?
Yes, sir.
But
Yes.
yeah, so that's how it works. Framework is at a certain level. It will give you a way to develop the application, but domain is yours. So you have to design your own application.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great, great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Karthik, for the question. Okay. So the basic fundamental of any design, you take any design, okay, is OOPS concept, because we are right now going into object-oriented programming. Okay. Right now, the current era is object-oriented. We are going ahead from object-oriented to some other concepts, but right now we'll concentrate only on object-oriented concepts. Then comes the design principles, which we have seen right now. Okay. Then comes the design patterns. Now you have OOPS concept. On OOPS concepts, you have design principle. Using design principle, you have solved some recurring problems. Those are design patterns. And using all these things, you are coming up with frameworks. And using these frameworks, you are actually designing your applications, right? So when you talk about say Node.js framework, even my own application, my own product. So my company has Automation Edge product. That product is completely developed on Node.js framework, but that is for GUI. When I talk about the implementation of what my product does, how exactly it handles RPA, it is again in pure Java. I have to come up with my own framework there, how I am going to handle the communication between server and client. Okay. So that's how it works. So framework will give you just part of your application. The complete design you will have to do. You may need to use multiple frameworks in your design, but the framework will get derived from design patterns only. Framework will use design pattern. Design patterns has to follow the design principles. Design principles are based on OOPS concept. Is it clear? Because if this is clear, we can go ahead and do any kind of design. To be very honest, when I'm designing multiple systems, it's like if I can talk about that system properly, then I can say yes, I can design it properly. Very simple example. When I say I need a logger class, again I'm going to the logger class because it is the simplest class I have ever seen, and I will just relate it. I need a logger class. When I say I am a system, that system has a logger class. But when I talk about the file logger is a logger. The system need a logger. System doesn't need a file logger. Are you understanding it? So how I'm talking about my system, if I keep on talking about my system in this way, I will have to just record it how I'm talking and then convert it into design. It is as simple as that. Okay, the initial design, the draft design will get created on dictating the system itself, how you are dictating that system to somebody else. You assume like you have an assistant and that assistant is writing down what is your system. Just keep on dictating her or him how exactly your system works. So what I will say, I have a system which is an RPA system, and that RPA system needs a logger, has a logger, and I need few loggers like a file logger, which is a logger again, an event logger, which is a logger again, a database logger. So again, it's a logger. So my system needs a logger, and these three types of logger will be there. So I will decide upon how exactly my system works. I will decide upon the logger. So if you write it down properly, in my opinion, more than 50% design is ready there itself. You have to just put it into UML. That's it. UML is nothing but a language which will tell you which can be communicated, which can be used to communicate between two different architects. Nothing else, right? It is a representation. Similar design pattern is a language. If I tell another architect, like, yeah, I'm using Memento here, and I'm using observer here to handle those events. That's it. I don't need to tell anything else. He understood what I have done. I don't need to tell him that my server is there. My server emits an event. There are few clients. Those clients are listening to those events, and when they are listening to those events, they are taking some action, and that action then to execute that action, I need some classes, and I need to keep the state in that particular class, so that I can undo or redo it. So if I keep on telling all these things, instead of that, I will tell, yeah, my application use observer. So my server is nothing but a subject, and all objects are getting connected to it. And those objects are again internally implementing command and memento pattern. That's it. When I tell this, another architect who understands design pattern language understands what I have done. So it is as simple as that. Okay. So design pattern solves your problem. At the same time, it is a very good language for communication. Okay. That's where I had an interview in 2003 2004 with a Israeli company, with an architect once again, because fortunately I have started working during my college life. In 1993 I started working, so used to have a very good experience. That is what I used to think, which was a completely wrong step. I came to know afterwards. And with that Israeli company, when I was going through the interview and he was asking me some design related question, and I used to give elaborated answers, so he was not happy with me. He has finally asked me, do you really know design patterns? And that time I came across design pattern. So first logger has taught me the design principle, and that failed interview has taught me design pattern. That's how I started understanding what is the design principle, what is the design pattern. And afterwards, when I started working with MFC and QT, then the few other frameworks, I understood what a framework is. Then I started working on my own in 4Gs development tools, which is a IBM's company. There I have started working on a language. There I came to know how exactly we can design our frameworks. So my experience has taught me, my failures has taught me the design, application design journey, principles, patterns, oops concept. So all of them has I have learned hard way. But now you people don't have to do that. It is already like whatever I can give you, I'm giving in these 3 hours, and then I will share all the links what I am using, all the YouTube links which I like about, and those I will share with you. Okay, do go through that, because designing is a very important subject when it comes to interviews. If you can give proper, if you can use proper words in a design pattern or principles, the person who is in front of you will get impressed like anything. At this junior level, if you are able to tell all these things, you are through with the interview. Okay. So for that, like for for better selection criteria for our students, it is important that they should understand the names. They should know the names, and they should understand when to use those names, design pattern names. Okay, it's pretty simple. Okay, shall we take 2 minutes break, because it is too much I can understand. Just 2 minutes break, not much, because it is completely theoretical. I can understand. Do you think we should
Sir,
take? Yeah.
sir, we have to take tea break at 11:15. If you say, then we'll take it right now. If you
Uh,
allow.
what
It
was
is
the
11.
time right now?
It's 11, sir.
Then give me 15 minutes. I will just finish this particular presentation, and then we can go on a tea break. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much. So we will go one by one now. What is OOPS concept? What is design principle? What is pattern? And frameworks has been covered yesterday, so I will not get into it again. Okay? So you know what is object-oriented concept. When we talk about object-oriented concept, the base concept itself is object. After object, what comes is encapsulation. How you are combining methods, or say data, and the methods acting on that data. After encapsulation, it is abstraction. How you are hiding your details. Then the inheritance. So abstract encapsulation and abstraction completes the object. Then the inheritance. How you are creating new objects. Okay. Polymorphism, when you are doing inheritance, after inheriting an object, how you are giving different meaning to the, or how you are implementing the base properties of an object. I'm saying properties, but the methods we need to implement. So for outer world, those methods are nothing but properties for that. How you are behaving. Okay, so how you are implementing these behaviors is nothing but polymorphism. It is pretty simple, just 5 concepts. Those concepts are there in real world also. If you really check, everything is circle around the object. When you talk about object should have its own properties, and it should have its on the properties some actions to be taken on the properties. For example, a human being can do a lot of things, so movements, etc. A lot of things we have. So we have our properties, so blood or say maybe muscles, etc. Those are our properties. At the same time, our movements, how we can listen, how we can talk, our five sensory organs. So all these are nothing but the operations. Then comes the abstraction. How exactly it is happening inside, nobody knows. Okay, so that is the abstraction. Inheritance, I don't need to tell. And the polymorphism, again, how they are imitating us. So I don't need to get into inheritance and polymorphism. Everybody in this forum, I think everybody knows, right? Then comes the design principle. Give me a moment. Again, we have seen this, the solid principle. Robert C. Martin, Bob Uncle, he has came up with the solid principle. First is single responsibility principle, open close principle, risk cost substitution principle. All these we have just seen. Dependency inversion principle. Okay, I think I don't need to go through this again, right? And that's it. Then comes the design patterns, and which is the most important subject, and we will cover this after this particular break. You need a mental break also. I can understand you need a mental break because lot of what you can say conceptual discussion, and it is sometimes a bit boring. I think you are with me and you understand how exactly these design patterns and everything are important, right?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir,
Yeah.
sir, one request, if it is possible, I don't know how much subject is there. The
Hmm.
design pattern, design principle, and framework.
Yep.
Explaining this, all these concepts, can you take one small example? This is design pattern, this is design principle, and this is framework. Or is it a very vast thing to
No, it
explain?
is not very vast. I can take that example. Just let me think about it. This is
Okay.
design. Okay, but what we will do is like I will try to get my own code if it is available here. If I can access it from here, because you know like the in companies we have IP blocking. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I am right now in different IP on different IP on different network. So if I can get access, I will just try to find out the same code.
Okay.
Otherwise, I will just create an hypothetical example. What I will
Yeah.
do, you're absolutely right. What I will do, I will just touch base each and every design pattern. I will not go into the detail of that design pattern. And then we will take an example in which this is a design pattern, or this is a principle, this is a design pattern, and this is an
And
architecture. That we will go. Okay.
okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Yeah. So shall we take a break now? We'll take a
Uh,
tea break and come back.
yes, sir, definitely.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is my request to all participants that we'll take the tea break for 15 minutes and we'll meet sharp at 11:20. Thank you.
सर टेस्ट करो यांचा ऑडिओ टेस्ट करा डायरेक्ट बोला ते खाली गुगल सर आवाज येतो का यांचा हा बस ठीक आहे बस हॅलो येतो सगळं आमचा येतोय ना ठीक आहे ना मी बाजूला जाईल ना त्यांचा स्वतःचा आवाज येतोय का येणार सांगा डायरेक्ट येण्यापेक्षा येणार
इथे करा बरं, इथे मला अनम्यूट केलं का ते बघा आधी.
इथे इथे अनम्यूट आहे काय करा आवाज मायक्रोफोनचा येतच नाही डिटेक्टच नाही झालं
मोगल सर आवाज येतोय?
Yes, Sagar sir, your voice is coming.
अच्छा म्हणजे मला आता का
Yes, Sagar sir, your voice is coming.
बोला ना अरे बोला ना
मोगल सर आवाज येतोय का माझा?
येतोय सर, येतोय, बोला तुम्ही.
ही नाव जायलाच पाहिजे यायलाच
Yes, voice is coming. आवाज येतो
हो
आहे.
सर आवाज येतो.
Yes, Sagar, your voice is coming.
Okay.
Any questions? Like,
Yes, Sagar sir, 11:20.
One has to be in a language.
should we start?
The answer that she has given basically relates to the way citizens can approach government agencies to get the redressal of their does anyone want to ask Mr. Kharat any other question? Because now I think she was the last participant, and if I am permitted, I think we should start the questions for those who did not have time to get questions. But I think each one will get.
मोबाईल घेऊन बाहेर जा. रेंज नसेल तर तिथे जा तुम्ही. बाहेर जा ना बाहेर.
Hello, Deshpande sir.
Yes, we will wait for more 5 minutes. Once the resource person is there, we will start. Chitte sir, we will wait for 5 minutes.
Okay, fine.
Hello, everybody. I'm back.
Yes, sir. Sir, should we start?
Yeah, it's up to you. You let me know. We will start immediately.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I hope that all participants have joined the session.
Yeah, we
So
should
I
wait for
request
some time.
Deshpande sir.
Yeah, we will
Yes, sir.
we wait for some 5 minutes. Let everybody
Settle
join the
down.
session. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, fine, sir. Okay.
No. Can we have? सागर सर.
Yes, sir.
सुरू करायचं का? I think everybody is settled.
Oh,
हमारे इतने पर
we can.
आसपास आए थे. हाँ, अपन शुरू करो अपना.
Yes, sir. We can start right now.
Yeah, we can start. Okay. So I'll just start again sharing my screen. Okay. So the last slide we were at design pattern. Okay. So am I audible to everybody? Is everybody with me?
Yes, sir.
Great, great, great.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. Okay. So we will start now. That's fine, right? We will start now. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Still morning. I know afternoon that still 30 minutes, 35 minutes to go for afternoon, but still. Okay. Very good morning to everybody once again. Okay. And we have seen how exactly the solid principles works. Then based on those solid, using those solid principles or based on the solid principle, we are right now like a gang of four, they came up with 23 different patterns. Now when we say pattern, it is very simple. If you really check our like latest fashion also, the pattern changes. Okay. So few years back, sari was a pattern. Then comes the salwar kameez. Then comes the like jeans and t-shirts. Similarly for male, it is like dhoti kurta. Then say shirt and pant. Then t-shirts and jeans. So all these things, it is changing. But if you really check, in a particular era, there is one pattern of the clothes, and everybody follows that pattern. So how to stitch a particular jeans is again a pattern. So everybody knows how to stitch that jean. Okay. Similarly, there are patterns in construction industry also. So initially we started building houses. So if you are building a house in say Pune, it is different than if you go to say maybe Konkan. In Konkan you have to like you have there is a lot of rain, and you have to house has to sustain in that rain. So for that, the way it is constructed, it is different. It has its own pattern. So how to build that? We have a pattern. When you say when you go to an architect and when you ask him to give an architecture for a particular house. Okay, what he does, where you are going to build it, first of all, what is the place? According to that place, he started creating the architecture. So he knows there are some problems, and those problems he is trying to solve in his architecture. Okay, similarly, gang of four, those four people, I don't remember their name right away, it is not like on my tongue, so we'll discuss it afterward. But those people came up with three type of patterns. Those three types are, first is creational. So how exactly the objects are getting created? So that is the creational pattern, a creational problem. Then the structure, how you are putting object or how you are placing them in your application. So how you are forming a structure. Is it a tree structure, or you want an inheritance, or instead of inheritance you need a list, and that list you want to do something, you want to iterate through that list. So it's a structure. And then the communication between two objects, that is behavioral. So behavioral patterns are defining the communication between two objects. I'm saying two, when I say object, it is not only an instantiation of a class, but subsystems altogether. The video which we have seen, in that video we have the engine. At the same time, we have the wheel assembly. The engine gives power to that wheel assembly, which actually makes our vehicle move. Okay, if that interface breaks, what will happen? The car will stay at one place. The engine will blast. So that behavior, or the point where you are connecting to each other, where you are connecting these two subsystems, that is covered under behavioral pattern. So when you are creating the engine or this wheel assembly, that the creational pattern, from which vendor you are going to get that particular part. You have seen that multiple parts are combined together, and then you have actually created the engine. So from where you are going to purchase those parts, you cannot manufacture each and every part in your own factory. So you have to like get it from somebody else. You don't know how that person is creating it. So the creation is hidden from you. You just get the final output. Okay. So that is the creational pattern. Structural, you know how exactly you are putting different systems in one place so that car can function properly. That is the structural pattern. So there are only three type of patterns: behavioral, then creational, and structural pattern. That's it. Okay. Now, how the distribution is? Give me a moment. Okay. So how the distribution is? The creational patterns are those. Give me a moment. I just need to move this. Okay. So creational patterns are singleton pattern, abstract factory, factory method, builder, and prototype pattern. Okay. Then when it comes to structural pattern, structure is like facade, flyweight, proxy, adapter, bridge, composite, and decorator. Then comes the behavior. Behavior is like chain of repository, responsibility, then command pattern, then interpreter, then mediator, memento, then iterator, observer, state, strategy, template method, and visitor. To be very honest, I like few patterns out of this. First pattern is singleton pattern, which is very widely used. Then the abstract factory and factory method. These are the three patterns which you are using 90% of the time from creational patterns. Then when it goes to structural pattern flyweight is most important for me. Then the adapter is again one of the most important pattern. Adapter, flyweight, decorator. These are the important patterns. Facade is again one. If you really check, adapter, facade, and bridge, they are similar pattern, absolutely similar pattern. But where they are working on which object they are working, that defines the difference in those patterns. Again, in behavioral pattern, command pattern is really important. If you know that iterator in any collection, you have to use the iterator pattern. The visitor pattern is one of it. So if you really want to do something or like go to each and every element of a collection and perform some operation on it, add new operation on it, then visitor pattern is really important. So all these are the 26 patterns. If you check 5 plus 4, 9, 9 plus 3, 12, 12 plus 11, 23. Okay, so simple, right?
Sir,
Yeah,
may I interrupt you?
absolutely, sir. I'm here for you only.
Sir, in Java, to create the object of any class, most of the classes provide one or more constructors.
Right.
Hello. Sir, I'm audible?
Yeah, you're right. Constructors are there, right?
Okay, but there are few classes in Java for which they have not provided a constructor, they have provided some method to create the instance of that class. And I think they are calling it as a factory method. What is the reason for it?
Yeah. You have really asked very good question. We will be going into that. Okay, that's not a problem. We will be going into that. But first thing, let me tell you one thing. Constructors are not there to create the class. They are there to initiate the class. Okay.
Yes.
So what happens is like you are creating the object of that class. After creating the object, all initialization you will have to write in constructor. Now, if you don't want anybody to create an instance of that class, okay, when you don't want to allow to create an instance of that class, just make your constructor private. It will give you a compilation error. The program will not compile if you try to create that object, and that's how you can avoid creating an instance of a class. Okay. Now, when the first pattern which we are going to see, that pattern is singleton pattern. In singleton pattern, I will tell you why some of the classes are not allowed to instantiate directly. Okay, and why we need to instantiate it through a method. So I will tell you in singleton, then the factory method and the abstract factory. Okay, we will take an example. Actually, what we will do, we will just consider say 4 or 5 patterns, not more than that. All patterns I have already documented. I will show you that. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, so these are the 23 patterns. Those I have already documented. Okay, so for you it is there. These are the creational patterns, singleton pattern, what it does, what is the UML diagram for singleton pattern, then what is the source code. Again, similarly, factory abstract factory, how it works. Okay, it's this thing. Its method. I have a Just a minute. Why I'm not able to click it? I think something is on top of it. Okay. Then the factory method. What is the what you can say, the UML? Then it's code. So everything is there for all these 23 pattern. I have created this particular PPT and will be sharing with you. Okay. So all 23, if you check, everything is there. But we will not cover all these 23 patterns. We will cover few of them. Okay. We'll take an example after covering these patterns. Okay. Let me just go through those patterns one. Then we will take an example. Okay. And in that example, we will check how exactly patterns are used, and using patterns, how the frameworks getting created. Rather, how frameworks are using the patterns. Okay. That we will check. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So let me go back to the start of this particular. I'm just not getting why I'm after coming on this thing. Zoom, I'm not able to click. Why? Basically, what is a design pattern? So, sir, I will come back to your question once we go to singleton and factory design pattern. Is it okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we will go to say the design patterns. We'll start with the design pattern. I will just give you a small introduction of those design patterns, and then we will get into each and every design pattern. Okay. So what does design pattern do? It provides a general reusable solution for a common problem occurred in software design. They are not talking about software implementation. Okay, they're talking about design. The pattern typically shows relationship and interaction between classes and objects. This is what we have covered. The behavioral pattern actually does the same thing. Speeds up the development process by providing well-tested, proven, developed design paradigm. Okay, basically, when you talk about a design pattern, it's not like I am using it for the first time. Like I am using it for the first time, but world has already used it and tested it. It works. Okay, that's why they are proven and well tested. Our programming language is independent strategies for solving a common problem. Sorry, it is not R, it is all. All programming language, design patterns are programming language independent strategies. So they are programming language independent strategies. And what are those strategies for? Those are for solving a common problem. I will give you an example of common problem. How many of you have used Control Z and Control Y in how many applications?
So we daily use it.
Huh?
So we use it daily.
Yeah. So if you check MS Word, Control Z, Control Y is there. So undo, redo is there. If you use Excel, it is there. Forget about Word and Excel. If you go to some typical website, also you can find that Control Z, Control Y is there. In Chrome, if you do Control Z, it will reopen the earlier page which you have closed, right? So again, you can see that undo redo is a very common problem, right? And that common problem is solved using the design patterns. There is no single design pattern which is there for this undo redo, okay? But you have to use combination of design pattern, and you have to come up with a undo redo framework. Okay, that's what I'm going to take an example when it comes to after this particular session. Okay, we will take that example. Makes code more flexible, reusable, and maintainable. Now, if you really check what I have done in that logger class, okay, if you really check what I have done is like I have came up with the iLogger interface, and then I have 3 different classes, right? So if somebody else who is developing his application or her application in C++, and if he requests for a what is it up now, a DB logger class or an event logger class, they can directly use my class, right? They have to just do one thing. They have to instantiate the interface, or they have to just use the interface, instantiate the class, right? It is as simple as that, right? Does it make sense? Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah. So it makes sense, right? So
Yes, sir.
yeah. So the class is already proven, tested in one application, and now I just want to reuse it, right? The what is it? Yesterday, which framework we have seen? I've just forgotten the name of that framework, but Hibernate framework. Okay, it is used by many applications. Now you are also using it for some application because it is proven, right? So makes code more flexible, reusable, and maintainable. It's a language of communication for architects. That is what I have explained you. Like if I just tell somebody that I'm using a facade and observer and say in undo redo, yes, I'm using command and flyweight and memento, and it works. That's it. He understand that I'm using a command, the undo redo related stuff. I don't have to explain anything more. Okay. And most important, which I have done and failed, but most important, it's not mandatory to implement design pattern in your project always. Now this is really important. Sometimes you might need to use your own designing. You may not want to use design pattern there. I will give you an example. Okay. As I told you, like I have started working with Sutra Systems in 2001. And in 2001, we have started working on a CAD-CAM project. You know CAD-CAM, like there are elements, then there are links between elements, there are lakhs of elements. I need to create a car model. I need to create, say, some model in that CAD-CAM domain. And my boss has asked me to design it. I have designed it in using object-oriented concept because in 2001, 2002, I have like royally screwed by my seniors for not using design patterns. And in 2003, when my boss came to me and asked me to do this, I have royally designed it, like multiple classes, etc., etc., everything I have done. And my competitor, that competitor used to create a particular object which with more than 3 to 4 lakhs of records, elements, and more than that links between these elements in say maybe 1 minute and few seconds. And we used to create that particular model in 1 minute and few seconds, but less than, we take 2 more seconds as compared to my competitor. So 2 more seconds in CAD-CAM industry is a huge time. My boss has came back to me and asked me, what have you done, Sachin? Can you show me your architecture? So I have shown him the complete very good architecture, and he was again annoyed with me. He told, remove all these design pattern and whatever you have learnt in my organization itself, give me a plain thing in which you are just using pointers, nothing else, and just start using it. I don't want factory, etc. Use tight coupling. Don't use factories. Don't do loose coupling, because as many classes you are introducing, as many indirection you are introducing, those many method calls for constructors and destructors you are giving. As soon as you give those many method call, it is consuming memory. It is consuming, not, it is not consuming memory, it is consuming your CPU cycles. And that's why we are 2 seconds, 3 seconds less, like slower than our competitor. Just do it. And I have done that. You won't believe, we were minimum 10 to 15 seconds faster than our computer, and we have won that particular project. And that project is Timon. If you really check right now on internet, Timon is still working. It is Tokyo Rayon project. Tore is the company, and for them we have developed a CAD-CAM project in 5 to 6 years. So that is the Timon project, TIMON. And in that project, we have not used design principles. To be very honest, we have used at a very limited level. Okay, it is very tightly coupled classes we have used because it is a CAD-CAM project. It was not, and that time the processing power of machines were not up to the mark, and because of that, we have to think about the speed, not about the pattern. So it is not mandatory that you should use patterns in your project always. On top of it, when you are thinking about design, please do not think about patterns. Think about the design of that particular application, and then try to check whether a particular application or whether a part of that application suits for a particular pattern, and then use that pattern while creating the design documents. Okay, nothing else. It is very simple. Are you with me? Have you understood, or you need some more explanation? Okay, so I'm just going ahead now. As I have mentioned in earlier slide, these are, just a minute, somebody is saying something. How can I see? Just a minute, ma'am. How can I see the chat, ma'am? चॅट कसं बघता कारण इथे पाहता येत नाही संभव yeah thank you okay Shilpa ma'am yep okay so now we will go to creational pattern. As I told you, the creational patterns are nothing but it talks about the creation of an object. So now I will come back to sir's point, like why some classes are created directly, instantiated directly, and for some we have factories and see methods to create those classes. Perfect. So singleton, basically if you want to restrict the number of instance to one, then you have to use the singleton class. Now where do you use it? Singleton. Can you tell me how many of you knows MVC, model view architecture? Or how
We
many of,
know, sir.
great. So how many of you have used, say, some persist storage, for example, databases?
We
Right?
have used, sir.
Perfect. So when you are using databases in your application, if you keep on connecting to that database again and again and keep on disconnecting that database, for example, I'm firing one query. Just to fire that query, I'm opening a connection. Again, I'm closing the connection. Again, for next query, I'm opening the connection, closing the connection, and I'm firing thousands of queries in one application. What will happen? What will happen? So again and again, if you're opening and closing the connection, the database will go down. If you don't really restrict the number of connections you are opening and closing, it will go down. So what you can do is you can restrict number of connection. You can create a pool of connections. Okay. And when you are creating a pool of connection, that pool must have single object. If you are creating a pool of 50 connections, then the class which holds those 50 connections has to have one instance of that class. Okay, you're saying that I'm restricting connections to 50 and you're creating 10 objects of that particular class. How many connections are there? One object contains 10 connection, 50 connection. 10 object contains 500 connection. Again, you are gone, right? So how can you restrict? Very simple. Once again, very simple. Just make your constructor private, right? Now you will see, say, if I make my constructor private, if I cannot call that constructor from outside, okay, by instant at the time of instantiation, so I will never be able to create that object, right? But it's not like that. You have to write a method inside a singleton class, which is get instance, and that instance method will return you the instance which is stored in that class. Now, a very good question. If somebody asked me, can you see some problem over here? Is there any problem in this?
I think it is very much similar to the monolithic program,
Right.
where
No, what is the problem in this class? Can you tell me? This is again Java knowledge. What is the problem in this class? Can I call?
Get instance has to be a static method.
Perfect. Perfect. Can I call get instance without instantiating singleton? It is not possible, right? So
Yes.
that method has to be a static method.
Static, yeah.
Okay. And in that method, you are creating an property or the instance, right? So in static method, you have to create a static instance itself, because unless and until you have an instance, you cannot go ahead, right? So you need a static attribute. So that is the singleton attribute. Okay, the private one. Okay. So what is exposed is get instance. That's it. Right? Get instance is public static, singleton is private static, and singleton itself is the class name. That's it. So you can change the object name. Otherwise, it will not create that object. Instead of singleton, it is m_ singleton. Okay. That's how singleton pattern will work. Now I will give you an example of singleton pattern. So somebody told in chat that we can use store procedures and all that stuff. Yeah, I do agree with you. You can use that, but it is just an example. If you really want to get into other classes, yeah. On top of it, what you can do is, for example, in MVC, okay, your controller has to be one. The class which is controlling communication amongst multiple objects, you cannot have multiple instances of that class. It has to be one. For example, in an application, the response in an organization, the responsibility of a particular department goes with only one person, and that person is the department head, right? The department head will be only one department head. You cannot have four department head. What will happen if I have four department head for computer science department? Those four department head will have their own strategies, their own way of thinking, and they will start fighting, and the department will collapse. Are you with me? Is it right? So that is what I have experienced in my career. Like if I give responsibility of a particular module to multiple module leads, then the chances of failure is 99%. And if I give the responsibility to one person and allocate few persons under him, people under him, then the possibility of success is more than 80-90%. Okay, so are you with
Sir,
me? Yeah.
yes, sir. You have just said that this get instance method should be static.
Right.
Yes, and that singleton that element it must also be static then.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now the question is, as far as static element is concerned, only single instance is created in memory, which is shared by all objects.
Right.
It means that if whatever number of object instance we create by using number of statement get instance, only single copy is created and same is shared by, although we feel that we have created many instances.
Absolutely. Look at this now. So only single copy is getting created, and that copy will actually work. For example, my logger class, only one logger class will get created. If you really check how exactly it works, it is pretty simple. Okay. So private static final singleton, new singleton. So they have created a singleton, but it is private, so nobody can access. As nobody can access directly this, what happens is like singleton, this public method, which is again this private singleton is the constructor. As you are creating this singleton class, inside that class, it is allowed to call this singleton constructor. Okay, that's why you are allowed to create the class, instantiate the class instantiate the object inside the class, right? Now, public static singleton get instance. Get instance is again public static. So you all clients can access this get instance method and get the instance and work on it. So in Java, there is no question of destroying the object. Okay, unless and until the reference count goes to 0, the garbage collector will not destroy that object. Okay, but we already have one reference which is there. For example, this final static singleton instance. So instance is a instance which is actually have the reference to this particular instance, right? So it will never get garbage collected, right?
No, sir, please, again repeat.
So when you talk about garbage collection, unless and until there is zero reference, garbage collector.
Yeah, that is perfectly okay.
Now what you have done is like new singleton. Okay. Give me a moment. Sir, after starting implementing this change in design part. Yeah. So we'll get into that. Okay. Sorry. So I will just finish this and then I will go to the chat room. Okay. So if you really check, we have one reference to this instance class, to the instance of singleton, which is instance, capital instance, right? And we are not allowing anybody to destroy this class, right? Because it is a private one, so nobody can access it. And in this class, I'm not destroying it anywhere. I'm not dereferencing it anywhere. So this reference will always be there till the time application is alive. Okay. When application goes down, when application closes itself, this instance will always will get destroyed. When I say the instance will get destroyed, the reference will get destroyed, and the garbage collector will collect that or destroy that object. Is it okay?
Okay. Why what final is used there?
Final because I'm not going to change it. So if you are changing that instance, then there is a problem. In singleton, you are not supposed to change the instance. What we say, like there has to have one copy. If you can destroy and create another copy, there itself we are saying we are destroying and create another copy. Itself says that the principle is broken. Okay. So we have to have it as final, and as it is final, we are creating is there itself. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And when it comes to C++, in C++ there is no garbage collection. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to even make your destructor private so that nobody can delete it. Okay, got it?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And you have to give a particular private method here, which no need to give any private method, just the destroy method you have to give, which is visible to a particular class only, or if you are the protected one, and inherit that class and create that instance in one controller class. As soon as that controller goes down, this class will go down and the destructor will get called. Okay, so that is how you have to work in C++. In Java, as there is no destructors, you cannot explicitly call the destructors. You don't need to worry about the destructors. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So these are the classes in framework. These are the classes which framework needs live all the time. Outside that framework doesn't want this class to get destroyed. I will give you an example of the class. Okay. You have setting class. Okay. If you have stored all the setting in that class, which frameworks internal classes are using that setting, and if you destroy that setting class, what will happen? If you destroy the setting class, it implies either framework has to reload the setting. It implies every time somebody wants to use the settings, it has to first check whether the setting is already there or not. If it is not there, then load it from the memory. Again, it is a costly affair. It is quite possible that you are sending those settings to client side, and at server level, you are loading it all the time. You have to do the communication. It is not acceptable, right? So these classes needs to be there all the time when you are executing that application. So you have to use singleton there if it is the single in entry. We will come to abstract factory afterwards. We'll come to abstract factory after this. I think before going to abstract factory, I will have to go to factory method first. Then we will go to abstract factory. Is this clear? Singleton is clear. And I'm not going to get into builder and prototype, because builder and prototype, it's like it is not commonly used. Okay. Builder is pretty simple. I will just give you a simple explanation of builder and prototype, and that is it. Okay. Just let me go to the chat. Ma'am, chat होता था कारण इथे मला याच्यात येतं. Sorry, I'm not able to see the chat at all on my PC. I don't know what is the problem. Okay, sir. After starting implementation, is change in design pattern possible? Now you tell me. Very good question again, Mayuri. Mayuri ma'am, design pattern is a concept.
So okay. There is a question from the participant side.
Yeah.
Hello, Deshpande sir.
Yeah. Hello. Am I audible?
Sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what you, the question I can see is, can we change the design pattern after implementation? Okay. So you can never change a pattern. It's a concept. How can you change the concept? You can mold the concept and write your own code. Okay. But the concept will not change. Okay. Either you will follow the concept or you will not follow the concept. The code will not, the concept will not change. The code will change. Okay. Is it
We can
okay?
override it, sir.
Pardon me?
We can override that feature.
Absolutely. It implies you are not following the concept. So simple. For example, I have given you a singleton class, and you said, I don't want it as a singleton. I will just make that. I will just remove the private part, so private singleton, and we'll make it a public singleton, so anybody can able to create the instance. At the same time, the static instance will be there. So what you have done is you have changed the code. You are not followed the concept. That's it. No problem, because you know you need that type of implementation. So as I have discussed in first slide itself, that implementing design patterns all the time is not necessary. Rather, it is harmful. It is harmful. Okay. So if it is necessary, if it is compulsory to use, then only use it. Otherwise, the way the mistake I have done, I was on the verge of losing my project. The same thing will happen with others also. use of too much of design pattern is not good for like the execution time or the performance of the system. Okay, it talks about reusability and simplicity of code. This is for developer, not for the sales guys. Okay, I will go to factory method first. Okay, in factory method. Okay, now again, when we talk about singleton doesn't allow you to create the instance. Rather, you have to get the instance through a particular method. Now, why do you need to do that? It is pretty simple. You need to do it because the framework needs those classes to be alive all the time. Framework needs those classes not to be altered by anybody else. Okay, that's why framework is hiding the detail and just passing the interface to you, and whatever whatever is the allowed operation by clients, the framework is allowing you to do it, not the operation which is not allowed to be done by the client. Okay, the interface you are getting, you are not getting the instance also. Okay, now we will come to factory method. If you check the car example what we have seen in the slide.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, again, I am repetitively asking question.
No problem. It is very good. I'm really happy.
What happened in many database related application, we are creating first of all one database connection.
Right.
For that connection, through different forms or screens, we are sending various queries.
Right.
Okay. But what happened when program module changes? Again, we have to make the connection. Right. Different parts of the program module. Again, we have to make the connection.
Right.
Why that database connection creating method or a class is not a singleton? That is single instance that can be shared by all forms or all screens or all frames.
Perfect. So what I can say is, like, if you keep only one connection and if you are doing multi-threading part, okay, then that can create problem, to be very honest. Okay. So instead of that, what you have to do, you have to create a pool of connection. Okay. So I think I have taken this example, a 50 connection object in one pool. Okay, and don't expose that particular the pool or each and every connection object outside. Okay, so what you can do, I will just take an example here. I will start my Excel. I will again. I will come to your question here itself because it's really important. This is really important, and this will cover a few design patterns also. So you have a DB connection. Okay. DB connection is necessary. Only one connection is not sufficient in any object. So we can say we have 50 DB connections. Okay. So we have a class, say CDB connection. Okay. Then we have another class which calls DB connection pool. Okay, and this class contains private, say, array. I'm using pseudo code. I'm not using the actual code.
Okay.
Yeah, array of, say, array of 50 connections, I will say. If you check in multiple frameworks, you have to specify number of connections. Okay. 50 connections. Okay, and this is private. This is not public. This is private. Okay, and then create connection or get connection. So what happens is, like, if you are multiple time asking for the connection, it will release connection. Okay, in get connection, it will keep on giving you connection. It is an say maybe index. That index will tell how many connections are got used. So first give first connection. As soon as the first get connection call comes, give one connection. So array of 0 has been consumed. If again it says release connection, then array of 0 has been released and it is there. Okay, every connection object will have whether it is released or in use. So this type of thing we have to use in connection. This is called as DB connection pool. If you go to Hibernate, you have connection pool there, right, in Hibernate framework. Okay, basically Hibernate framework talk to the databases, different databases, and that is the database is transparent to you. You are not able to, like, you don't need to worry about the underlying database. You can change at any point of time. So this is the pool, and the pool has to be singleton. You cannot create multiple instances of this pool, right? If you allow to create one more instance of pool, what will happen? DB connection pool 2. Okay, so 50 plus 50, 100 connection you are already created. Then again 350. Again you are deviating from the problem which you have faced, that multiple connection. If you keep on creating multiple connection, the output of creating a huge number of connections to a DB is surging of the CPU cycle used by a DB server.
Resources will also consume.
Absolutely, resources, and the problem will be surging of this thing, the CPU cycles which you are using. And in any many organization, or in any organization, if the CPU cycle goes beyond 60-70%, the CPU usage goes beyond 60-70%, it's an alert. I have already faced this problem in HDFC Bank. So in HDFC Bank, we have a huge implementation of my product. We have more than 200-300 bots there, and we are hitting database, the SQL Server database, literally like minimum 1,000 times in a second. Okay, so 200 bots are hitting that database continuously, and that is what has created problem in surging the CPU cycle and slowing down the speed. Okay, so to solve that problem, we have to implement DB connection pool. DB connection pool we have implemented. It has bit slowed down our implementation, but it has solved the problem of the DB server. Then they have increased the size of the memory and everything for that DB server, and then we have increased the size of pool also. That's how we have increased the efficiency of our product also. Okay, so this is how the DB pool has to be singleton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Now what I will, yeah, absolutely. So now with this DB pool, I will say that I have a connection pool. Okay, so there are multiple DB connections are there on which on these multiple DB connections I have to work. Now assume like I have right now say MySQL. Okay, then I want to go for MS SQL, Access database. So and now n number of databases I can think about, right? So you are making a lot of queries, right? And those queries are there in your application. Lot of like each and every page uses some or other query. If I change from say one RDBMS to another RDBMS, what will happen? I have to change the complete application, right? I have to change the complete application. Is it really worth? Because I have to take the complete effort. So I have to, a few of my customers will use say Oracle. Few of my customers will use MS SQL. Okay, few of my customers will use say some other DB2, something else like that they will use. How can I manage all those customers? Because I will have to keep 3 copies of my entire application so that I can support 3 databases. Now this is 3 databases. Tomorrow my application support application server like say Tomcat or some other application server. So I have, for Tomcat I have 3 applications. For other server, I have 3 applications. So number of application servers I'm supporting into number of databases I'm supporting, those many copies of my entire application I will have to support, right? It is not technically viable. It is not financially viable. It is not absolutely viable. Okay, the changes is not change. We cannot accommodate changes at. If I do one change at one level, then I have to do that changes at 6 per different level, different files. That is not acceptable. Then what we can do? We can create again. I will just delete all this. What we can do is we can create classes. So those classes like I will say DB. I will just simply say DB, or maybe IDB. I stands for interface.
Interface, yeah.
Okay, then I will create one more DB, which is Oracle DB. So CODB, I will say. MS SQL, MS SQL DB. PostgreSQL, PostgreSQL DB. I have created 3 classes. Really good. Okay. Now I have inherited this, and in my application, here is my application, and in this application, what I'm using, I'm using this. Okay.
Mhm.
Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
I'm using the interface. So
Mhm.
tomorrow, if I want to move from Oracle DB to MS SQL to Postgres SQL, do I need to change my application?
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing has to be changed, right?
Yes.
I just have to depend upon the.
Mhm.
Can you tell me which is the solid principle which we are following here? And why that solid principle is needed? The first solid principle is programmed to an interface, not to an implementation. So this
Yeah.
particular application is programming to an interface, not to an implementation. Have you
Yeah.
got this?
Yes, sir.
This is what we are doing in everyday's life. This is the principle which we are following. Then next is open and close. So if I
Yeah.
change the database, okay, so this particular class is only communicating with Oracle, not with say Postgre or MySQL, right, or MS SQL. So I'm following this principle also. Then comes which one? Apna open close ho gaya. Object of a superclass shall be replaced with the object of the subclass. Again, if I replace IDB with CODB, means Oracle, it will still work here, right? There will
Yeah.
not be any problem. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Is it
Yes,
clear
sir.
example? Do you is it okay if I take these type of examples?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right?
They actually we understand the things clearly, principle and these things. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now this is the principle. These are the principles which we are using here. So simple, right? It is pretty simple. The only thing is there are heavy names given. Any question? Any question? I think in chat, ma'am, please open the chat. Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, then what happens is like these three things are there with me, right? I have these three objects, right, or three classes with me. Okay, and every time what I need to do here is like I need to create the instance of any one of this class. I cannot just say which instance I'm creating. I don't know. If I want to use Oracle, I have to create the instance of Oracle. How I need to write it? It's like new CODB, and what we are doing is
Over to you, Dr. Rakib Deshmukh, sir. Please propose. Yes, sir. Yeah.
IDB.
Very warm good afternoon to all of you. Myself,
I think some disturbance is there. Can somebody go on
Yes,
mute?
sir. Some technology issue is there. Yes,
Oh.
sir. I think yeah. Dr. Deshmukh, some connectivity issue must be there. You are not. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir. You propose a lot of times.
Yeah.
Problem, I think.
There is a problem with connection.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Deshmukh. Yes, sir. Your connection is not proper actually. Yeah. Now connection is secured, sir.
Yeah. So I'm Shilpa ma'am. I'm going to runtime runtime instance creation only. So that's a pattern. That is where I'm going to.
Very warm good afternoon to all of you.
Yes.
Very warm good afternoon to all of you. Myself, Dr. Mohammad Ragib Deshmukh from GS College, Khampur. Honorable Dr. Vidya Pandit.
सर काहीतरी आवाज येतोय वेगळीच मीटिंगचा.
हा वेगळाच मीटिंगचा आवाज येतोय तो कुठने येतोय तेही मला कळत नाहीये. I have not started that meeting.
Dr. S.N.
Because it will be difficult to actually continue like this.
Mogal sir.
Okay, so I will just start.
Dr. Sajid Suroni sir, Principal Dr. B.R.
भारती म्हणून कोणतरी भारती बी मध्ये
Convener of FDP Dr. Bala.
Bharti 902. Yeah. Okay. So what we will do is now, I just have to do this IDB DB is equal to new CODB. Okay. Or I will have to use say CMS DB, or I will have to do PGDB. Okay. But I have to expose the database to my client code. Okay. This is the client code. I will have to expose my database to this client code. Right? which is again dangerous. All the time, whenever I change the database, I have to recompile it because I'm connecting it. So instead of that, what I will do, I will ask another class to, to create these particular objects in such a way, like this might be a class, a creator, say maybe what I will say, a class, a creator class, and this class will take, say maybe create db, and it will give string type. Okay, and this type may be say Oracle or MS SQL or PostgreSQL. Okay, and what it will, this particular create db will do, this create db will actually create this instance. So it will do idb, the switch case, switch a type. If it is say Oracle DB, then it will do something like this. CO IDB equal to new CODB, right? Similarly, if it is MS SQL, IDB equal to new CMS SDB. Got it? And finally, it will return what it will return. It will return this DB, right?
Yes.
IDB. Is it right? Is it simple?
Yes, sir.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
So simple, right?
Mm.
This is nothing but factory method.
Mm-hmm.
A method which is creating the class, or which is creating an object of that class, but client even doesn't know what is the object. It will just talk to the interface. Do you think that client even need to know the CODB or CMSSDB? Not needed. Client will just understand IDB, right? Tomorrow some new database comes into the, pardon me?
IDB and its behavior.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So this is called as factory method. That is what we were trying to check. This is the factory method class. So simple, right? It is pretty simple. Now we will again go to abstract factory now. Okay. So when you talk about factory method, if you really check, right now you are developing applications on one platform. So have you ever developed application, ever means and web application, have you developed that web application in say maybe for Linux separately, for Windows separately, for Mac separately? You don't need to do that, right? But do you really think that rendering of windows, different buttons, is same in all these three? It is not, right? So if you want to use say maybe a button or a radio button or a say maybe the some drop down combo box, edit box, labels. Okay, all these are different in all these three different this thing platforms. So what we are doing, again, I'm going to create one more instance. So you want to develop an application on Windows, okay, then Mac, then Linux, right? And UI application you want to develop. While developing this UI application, you need to play with button, list, right? Then say combo or something else. Okay, you want to do that. Or simplest is selection dialog. When you talk about selection dialog, it can be file selection, color selection, or anything else, right? So this type of selection dialog you need, and the buttons or etc. you need. But in Linux, the implementation will be different, right? In Mac, the implementation will be different, and in Windows, the implementation will be different. But one renderer will be there, okay? The client app, which renders all this, renders these controls on a canvas. Okay, right? Is it right? Are you getting by the point, whatever I'm trying to say right now? Hello, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Are you with me? Okay, great, great. Thank you very much. So you have to create this. On top of it, when you really check this button, list, combo, selection dialog, anything is just a window, right? For the application, right? It is just a window, nothing else. For me, I am rendering 6 windows on one application, out of which first is the label, like this, out of which this is the button, this is the combo box, okay, this is the list. Okay, once I click on it, the list will be there. Okay, these are the edit boxes, maybe we can think about it. These are the edit boxes and combo boxes. Okay, but for this problem or her problem, right, the way database, right, if you fire a query, how that database handles connection is that database object problem, not the problem of the person. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now you can write a factory method, right, to create these classes, right? But is it right? You need a factory method to create this. The way we have written it over here, the factory method create DB. Similarly, create window and which window you want to create, right? If you are familiar with Windows SDK, you will find that there is exactly the same method, create window, right?
Yes.
So similarly, you have to just create the window. The button, list, combo, everything will get created over there. You have to provide the parameter. Parameter means which kind of window you have to create, right? So you are creating a window for Windows OS. So for Windows OS, what you have done is you have created, say maybe you have created multiple this thing. What is it, apna? Methods to create one button. The button style can be different. So create button, create list, create combo, create selection dialog box. So these type of methods you will create. Okay. Or we will create just a create window method. Now I will have a create DB method, right? Or I will have tomorrow, I will have create file method. So it will keep on creating in files. Again, I may create a binary file, a text file, or something else, or an XML file, or say maybe a JSON file, anything I can create here. So I have created this, but the way it is getting implemented for Linux, for Windows and for Mac are different. So if you are on Linux, you need factory method for Windows on Linux method, factory method for DB on Linux, factory method for create file on Linux. Is it right? Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So we need this Control X. I will just put it here. You need this for this, for this, right? Similarly, you need all these 3 methods for Mac and for Windows 2, right? So simple, you need to do that. Otherwise, your program will not work. Now, what you can do, right? What you can do, you can have again a method, again a class, okay? And this class will return you one of these methods, okay? So there will be a C Linux factory class, which can create Linux window, Linux DB, Linux file, okay?
And above that, we can have one interface then.
Perfect. And that interface is nothing but toolkit, or we call that interface as factory, abstract factory.
Yeah.
So simple. Just check the method. Right?
Yes, sir.
As simple as that. It is pretty simple, nothing in it, right? But when we
Yes,
talk
sir.
about abstract factory and factory method and singleton, the
Yes,
name
yes.
itself is difficult, nothing else, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
As simple as that. So all 3 design patterns are covered here. So simple. Okay, the code is already with this particular stuff. I don't know why the click is not working somehow when I'm sharing my screen. The click is not working properly on this. Just let me check whether I have this. I written this code in a Word file basically. So rectangle, rounded, square, etc. All these things are there. You can just compile this code. If there are some compilation errors, you can check. It's pretty simple.
This is a common taken example in academics.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. This is common taken example, and that's why I have just taken the same example which you can take in your classes. But when we are taking the example, this is the practical example which every programmer is using right now. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the practical example. So these academic examples I have taken, and to be very honest, there's a very good good site called as Wikipedia. Okay, so I have even given the links to those Wikipedia sites. Okay, where you can find good things. Then Wikipedia, Geek for Geeks. Then few more sites are there. There is one more this thing. This is the Logica Java Architecture Training Crew. So they have created a they have written this book. That book also I have shared with you because it is very simple. The Gang of Four book is not simple at all to read. The way John Stallstrup has written C++ book, similarly Gang of Four has written elements of software design. So that book, design pattern, elements of reusable software design. So that book is also very difficult to understand. So this is very simple to understand. One more book, which is I think Dummies, design pattern for dummies. It is very simple to understand. But once you go through these books, to really understand what Gang of Four is saying, you have to go through the Gang of Four's book also. Okay. But do not directly read Gang of Four book. It is really difficult to understand. It will create a lot of confusion. Okay. Again, builder is pretty simple. I will not go into the details of builder. The way we have created, this thing, the car factory, where you keep on building the object and finally the car goes out, right? So that is how the builder works. Okay, it keeps on constructing the objects. Okay. Do you want me to get into builder and prototype because they are not much used anywhere? Rather than builder, people are using decorator pattern. Okay. Hello. 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 Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we will not get into a builder and prototype because what's the time right now? Let me check. It's 12:28. So we have very less time. So I will get into another, say one or two more patterns similar to the example what we have taken here. Okay. So I will take one more example, and that example will cover few of the chapters, a few of the design patterns, and we will stop because design training in design pattern itself takes a lot of time. Okay, so we will just take some examples and we will go ahead. Is it okay with all of you? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so again, simple. One more this thing. Okay, so we'll take one example, which is a pretty simple example. Give me a moment. Thank you. We'll take example. We will go ahead with say a framework which implements undo redo. Okay. Undo redo framework. Okay. Which example we should take? Word? Do you want me to take Word example or say Excel example?
Word example.
Okay, Word example. Very good. So I will open MS Word. Okay. This is my MS Word example. Now what I will do, I will just write my name. enter, and I will click on Control Z. What happened that whatever I have typed, gone, Control Y, came back, gone, came back. It implies I have text, right? And that text I need to remember somewhere. When I say Control Z, I need to remember what text I have written. Okay, and where I have written it. And when I say Control Y, I have to rewrite it. Right? Is it right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it a command? That command will tell Word that you write a text. Right? It's a command. So what that command is doing, I have few commands here. In undo redo, I have few commands. So maybe text write is one command, and text delete is another command, right? So what I'm doing, as soon as I say Control Z, it is deleting that text. As soon as I do Control Y, it is rewriting the text. So when I click on Control Z, it is firing text delete command. When I say Control Y, it is firing text write command. Now, when I say text delete and text write, there can be multiple text delete and text write commands, right? But which text I need to write or which text I need to delete? Okay. It's the Sachin which I need to delete and which I need to write. Okay, so I will do one thing, Sachin, this Samir. What happened? Control Z, Control Y, it is not deleting it. Why it is not deleting it? Because as soon as I click on enter, it has changed that small s to capital S. Okay. So second command is to upper, to lower, right? Third is again, and then there is nothing third. Okay, now what I have done, Control Z, Control Z, it has gone. Control Y, Control Y. What it has done, as soon as I do Control Z, it is to lower. Again Control Z to delete. Okay. Again Control Y to write, sorry, text write. Again Control Y to upper. It is firing these commands, right? So Z, when I say Z, it is to lower, then text delete, to lower, delete, text delete, then it is again text write, text write to upper, right? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this you have understood, to lower, to upper, to right. This you have understood. It implies this particular class is actually keeping some data in it. So I need to have something to keep the data. So I need a collection. So I need collection of commands, right? I need collection of commands, right? When I'm working on this command, I need to iterate through that collection of commands. So I need to go through each and every command. I may need to just check whether there are duplicate commands or not. So I need to iterate through that, through list of commands, right? Are you with me? So how I'm going to iterate through it? I don't know which command it is. I just want to understand, because one class cannot understand multiple derived classes. So I need to have a small command class, okay, which will say execute. So I need to have a command class, okay, maybe I command class, and that I command class will have a method, execute, right? And this execute method will be implemented by all these classes, right? Are you with me? So how is the hierarchy now?
Yes.
The hierarchy is it's my I command class, and below that I command class, I have all these classes. Okay,
Yes, sir.
simple, right? It is pretty simple. Pretty simple, right? And my iterator class, if I want to go through all these classes, maybe it has one more record, who am I? Right? It will tell who am I, which command I am. If I have multiple commands of same type, I will club them. Okay. So the iterator class will just iterate on I command, not on all this, right? Iterator class will iterate on this and will say, who am I? We'll call who am I. If it is same, then it will go ahead. It will club them, right? Some other class will club it. So iterator will go through only I command. Okay, and that I command will have only one method, which is execute, or some other method if you want to put, right? So it is a command class. Are you with me now?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Perfect. If it is a command
Yes,
class,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
If it is a command class, what are we doing? We are just going through the command pattern. It is as simple as that. This in behavior design pattern, fourth one, last row, fourth one, last column, fourth row. Okay, that's the command pattern. It is very simple, right? So there is an interface which says I command, and there are classes, those are actually writing this execute method. This is the command class. Very simple, right? So in undo redo framework, we are using command as the one of the design pattern. To go through that command class, I need iterator. Now, if you really check, I have the iterator in, again, behavioral pattern. Okay. Where is the iterator? Second this thing, design pattern. So last column, second row. So iterator is again simple. Iterator doesn't do anything. It just goes through a command, goes through a collection. And that collection, now that collection has to implement one more method, next. Okay. And using this next method, the iterator will iterate through all the collection. Okay. So what we are using, we are using even the iterator pattern. Iterator pattern here. Okay. So we have used iterator and a command pattern. Now, if you really check this undo redo, can you create multiple instances of this class, undo redo class? You cannot. You have to have only one instance of this framework class or the overall class. Okay. So you have to use singleton here. The main controller class of undo redo framework, the main controller class of undo redo framework, who actually controls control Z and control Y. Okay. Has to be a singleton. Right? So we are covering singleton pattern also in this undo redo framework. Okay, it is there because if you really check, where is that undo redo? I don't see it here. Forget it. But undo redo, how can I get it? Because we never use that.
Corner.
Pardon me?
Top left corner.
In the file menu.
Above file menu.
Ah, yeah.
Above file menu.
Yeah. So undo redo is here, right? And this is only one. So instance has to be only one. It cannot be multiple instances of the controller class. So the controller class we have to manage all this. So the undo redo framework contains a controller class. That controller class understands only the commands and the iterator, nothing else. It has the collection of commands, two collection of commands. One is undo and one is redo. Two collections of commands, right? Then two iterators to go through all these commands to remember where we are right now, right? Now we will come to this command class. We will just check the command class two lower and two upper. Now, how do you know that in two lower In to lower, what you have to do is you have to make this S lower or upper, right? Right? So this S is going, you are converting S to lower and to upper. It implies that command class needs to have the information about which word you want to like go to make lower or upper. On top of it, what is the position of that word? On top of it, what is the what is the what can I say, font, etc. of that word? Everything is needed in that particular command class. How can you store it? Okay, the command class is not responsible for storing all these things. Some other pattern is responsible. Okay, so what happens is, like, whenever I go outside, I am a frequent flyer. So I have to go in different countries, in different cities all the time. So at least once in a month, well, sorry, not once in a month, it at least 4 or 5 times in a month I travel. Okay. So I go to Calcutta, then say Britain, then Dubai, then Bangalore, Delhi. All the time I keep on traveling. I'm married for last 20 years now. Okay. So I have to get something for my wife. When I say that I have been to say Calcutta, I have to get a Calcutta silk sari for her. That is a memento for her. Okay. That's a memento that I have visited Calcutta. So yesterday also, when we were sitting with my son, my wife was just finding out all the just like clearing her cupboard, and while clearing, she found some saris, and she told me, Sachin, you have got it from Calcutta. You have got it this sari from Chennai. So that is memento. Okay, she's remembering something with that particular object. If you really check, sari is an object. With that object, she understands that this particular sari, when she sees that object, she understands that this particular sari is from Calcutta. This particular sari is from Chennai. Similarly, that command should memorize what, on which object it has to act upon. So the command should keep a memento contain a memento in itself, so that the command can understand which object it has to work with. And that is nothing but a very simple design pattern, which is memento, that is behavioral pattern, and the second last pattern from behavioral patterns, design patterns. Have you understood memento? Is it simple? Hello?
Yes, sir. You have given a good example.
Yes, sir.
Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. It's a memento. Generally, when we talk about talk in software term, what we say, hey, I'm changing the state of the application. No, it's not the state of the application. You are just changing the word. You are just changing the memento, nothing else. You remember it and you change that. You remember from that memento what you need to change, or you are changing it. State is something in which your application will go. It is different. State is not the memento. Okay, it is pretty simple. If you really check how exactly you can relate these words with our real life, you'll understand it in a simple way. So we have seen singleton, we have seen abstract factory, we have seen factory, we have seen observe, we have seen iterator, we have seen command, we have seen memento. It is pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. So all these patterns we have to use to achieve undo redo. In undo redo, we have controller class. How this controller class will work with, if there are multiple types of undo redo. So for Word, there you need different set of undo redo. For Excel, you need different set of undo redo. And in one application, if you want to use Excel and Word both, you might need programmatically, you might need to implement undo redo for both of them. Okay, so you have a controller class in which you will again put these two controller classes. Okay, are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
It is simple,
Sir,
right?
one thing.
Yeah.
One thing understood that using undo and redo is very simple.
Right.
But internal implementation is very big.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can think about it. Now you are providing undo redo right now for lower upper, delete text, then write text. But tomorrow, if you want to provide undo redo for making a particular character bold or not bold, like simple, right? Underline or without underline, italic or normal, Okay, you may need to provide those undo redo also. So you can incrementally provide it. If you really check, the client is not getting affected. What you are doing, you are just adding this number of classes. That's it. Number of command classes. With command classes, you are adding mementos. That's it, right? It is as simple as that. Are you getting the point? What I'm trying to say? Are you with me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, do you think this is simple? All these command patterns are so simple, right?
Yes.
It's very simple. Now somebody has asked me how give me an example in which how you can use command patterns in the framework. What is the difference between a framework and command pattern? Have you seen now there is a command? This is the framework. The undo redo itself is a framework. It's a part of framework. Okay, it's a small framework which we have right now created or which we have right now designed. And to design that, we have used these many these many design patterns, right? It is simple, right? Any question on this? Now I will just stop here. Any question? For say 5 minutes, we will take a question, and again I will go ahead with one more example, which will cover one more design pattern. I'm not getting into all the design patterns. It will take time, so I will just covering few design patterns. So, just any question on till what we have understood. At least I don't remember the name. Sorry, I'm very weak in remembering names. So the person who has asked me how to use frameworks and design patterns, their example. Are you clear about design pattern and frameworks now?
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Nilesh.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, yes.
Thanks. We will take one more example. I will write something on my screen, and you have to tell me what I have written. Okay. How many of you know Bhosle sir from, not Bhosle sir, I think Kulkarni sir were there. Abhyankar sir. No way. And Bhosle sir.
Layers of models.
What are they?
Networking model layers.
Perfect. Application presentation session, transport network, data link, and physical, right? Right? So we have two layers like this. We have two layers like this, right? What we do, there is one node sitting over here, one node sitting over here, ISOSI network model. Okay, TJ ma'am, she used to teach us this. Okay, so what you do, it is different actually. They are here, right? The data flow from here to application. If I want to send data from, say, receiver node, and it's a sender node, right? If I want to send data from here to here, what will happen? It will go to this stack. Physical layer will add something, okay, or say application layer will add something. Then the presentation layer will add something. Then the session layer will add the session tokens. Then transport layer, network, data link, and physical. From here, the packet will go to physical layer of receiver node. And receiver node will again remove all these things from physical, data link, network, transport, session, presentation, application, right? It will go like this. Are we changing our data? Suppose this sends, say maybe Maharashtra. Is it changing that data? The data as this application layer is Maharashtra. Before that application layer is Maharashtra. Will it be Maharashtra here?
Yes.
It is not changing the data. It is adding something on this data, right? So if I want to gift something to somebody, okay, what I will do, I will add a very good box on it. After adding the box, I will add a wrapper on it. After adding the wrapper, I will add a say maybe some sticker on it, the name sticker. After adding the sticker, so here I will add a box, then I will add a wrapper, then I will add a sticker, then I will add
In
a flower.
encapsulation and decapsulation.
Mm, not exactly. We are decorating it, right? I'm decorating it and giving it to somebody else. Okay, so if I want to gift a guitar to my son, I will decorate that guitar completely, the box of the guitar. He will not understand what is it, and I will give it to my son. Then what son will do? Son will first remove that flower, then or maybe something else which he likes, chocolate, then the sticker, then the wrapper. Then he will open the box, and it is for him it is wow, right? So if that's the case, if I say that one of the class, one of the person who is expert in just putting it into the box, he will put it into box. The next person will actually wrap it. It will go to the billing counter. Before going to the billing counter, the person will put a sticker on it. After that, I will go to a florist and get a flower and put that flower on that particular box, right? So four different people are doing different things, right? So if you really check, the application class actually adds some value or some application related parity or the identification bits on your on Maharashtra. Then the presentation layer will again add something on it. Then session layer will add the session token. They are not changing the data. Then the transport layer will add everything. Then the physical layer will transmit it onto the wire, and then this physical layer will get on the wire, and it can start de-wrapping it or unwrapping it. Okay, and finally the last application layer will get the proper data, right? So we are decorating the data, and then again removing all that decoration from that data, right? So we are decorating it. Are you with me? Do you think this is I'm decorating the data?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. We have understood the decorator design pattern. It is so simple. Once again, it is the structural design pattern. It defines the structure in which you are going to call the classes, the application, the method of few classes. Okay, that's the decorator. So simple, right? Nothing in it. So simple. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
It is so simple. The decorator pattern is so simple. Hai. So now we will go ahead with some other example. Okay. So again, when you talk about, say, I want to charge my mobile. Okay. So I have a charger, right? I have a mobile. So maybe this kind of mobile I have, and I have a charger. I just put this charger here, and then put this USB in some charger. I put that charger in electricity adapters, right? And I start charging my mobile. Okay. Now, after charging mobile, I felt that I need to switch on a light. So what I will do, I will remove my adapter, the charger adapter from that electricity point, and I will put which adapter? The tube light adapter. Okay. And it switches on my tube light. After switching on the tube light, I felt that no, yeah, I need to switch on fan also. So what I will do, I will remove this tube light adapter and I will switch on the fan. So I have only one class, okay, only one class which supplies electricity, but different adapters, right? So my client is the electricity, and the adapters are these type of things: the fan, my mobile charger, my the electricity light or tube lights adapter. This is as simple as that. These are the adapters. Okay, these are the adapters. Are you getting it? What is an adapter? It is pretty simple. It just encapsulates a particular, or it just instantiate that class inside an adapter class. Okay, so simple, right? It is just look at this: client, target, and adapter. So simple, adaptive adapter. So that operation is getting carried out on that adaptee. So simple. Are you with me? Are you with me? So
Yes,
Nilesh,
sir.
Nilesh sir and others, you're
Yes,
getting
sir.
it, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it is very simple. These design patterns are day-to-day life what we are living with. Okay.
Sir, we have the Java adapter classes, event adapter classes.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Now in Java, have you ever used bean classes?
Which classes?
Bean
No,
classes. We
no,
say bean
no, no.
classes are nothing to just keep data in it.
Mhm.
Okay. So bean classes means it is a concept. Again, bean class is what I have some data. For example, I have now look at this. I will just Sachin, Samir, say maybe ABC, PQR, okay, all these things. What I say, I did this Sachin to be say Aroni with say 14 and bold. Okay. I want same to be applied on ABC. Okay. Now, if you really check, the style of Sachin and ABC is same, and the style of Samir and PQR are same, right? There are only two styles used in four this thing, only in four say maybe words. Only two styles has been used, right? So, do you think I should create four instances of style or only two instances of style and use the two instances and share those two instances among these four words? What do you think?
Two instances.
Two instances.
Only two instances.
Only two instances, right? Okay.
Hmm.
Decorator is present in structural design pattern. So how it works in behavioral pattern? Okay, give me a moment. So I will just go back to decorator a bit. Let me take that question. Otherwise, it will just go out of my mind. Decorator. Okay, we will go to decorator. I will just take that example once again. Okay. Can I add physical layer first, presentation layer data first, and then the network layer data? Is it possible?
No.
So I have to
No, sir.
define the structure. When I am wrapping up, I have to define the structure in which structure I will be there wrapping up. For example, in my son's guitar wrap, if I keep that flower with guitar first and the box, then that flower doesn't carry any value, right? So the structure is important. How you are wrapping. Wrapping is just a method. Okay, it is not defining the behavior of the class. It is defining how it should be structured, right? How which class should get executed first, then the second class, then the third class. You cannot alter the structure. If you alter that structure, you have to change that structure in this in the client object also. So it defines the structure, not the behavior. Means my guitar behavior will never change. Whatever it is, it will play the guitar only. It will play the strings only. It cannot play the some like flute. It cannot play with the air. It will play only the strings. Okay, so I'm not changing the behavior. I'm changing the structure, how I'm decorating that guitar. My final object is not changing. Okay, so that's why it comes under structural pattern, not under behavioral pattern. Okay, is it okay? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
This behavior
Again,
is going to be same always then.
behavior.
Behavioral pattern.
Huh.
Same. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So if you really go to behavioral pattern, I will just show you. We're talking about data right now. When you go to behavior, it's like how now observer. Okay. So I will give an example. I born and brought up in Panchet, born in Pune, but brought up in Panchet. It's a village place. Okay. And in village, I have a lot of friends. You know that and in general, we don't have a habit of buying mangoes and anything, any fruit. We don't have a habit of buying it. What habit we have? Go to somebody's place and steal it, right?
Yeah. That is a
And
different enjoyment.
that's a different enjoyment altogether. But while doing that, one person is always there watching if somebody is coming or not, right? And
Yes,
it
sir.
is quite possible that implies run away. It is absolutely right? Implies
Yes.
run away. So that
Mm.
is my subject. Okay. That person is there, which defines my behavior, what I will do on. Okay. So he or she will whistle. As soon as he or she will whistle, we all will run away.
Which means
Right?
listener method, right, sir?
Listen and take an action. So that is observer. So we are observing to that particular person. Our ears are towards that particular person. What that person is telling us. Okay. And
Yes.
then as soon as that the person tells us something, so we are the observers. There can be multiple observers. Only one person is going to check whether somebody is coming or not. But 10 people are there who are observing to that person and they're running away. Right? So running away is one of the things. If somebody who knows that person, the owner of that farm very well, that person will sit over there
Yeah.
itself, and that person will like calm down that particular owner, right? So the behavior, the action taken on, I never used to know that I'm using design patterns there. Okay, when I was say 9 years, 10 years old. But that time only I started using design patterns. So simple, right?
So we may go in a.
What is the time? Yeah. So what do you think? What we should do now? So if we start like if you start discussing like this, it will go on till evening. So I think we should stop here, or you want some more examples? It's like we should start with question answers. That itself will make me to tell you something about other design patterns, right?
Yes, sir. We can start the question answer session.
Yeah, that will be good.
Sir, I already done with my questions. I'm really very thankful to you.
Yeah, thank you, Nilesh. Thank you very much, sir.
Actually, some questions were there, sir, in chat room, but I think you have answered all the questions.
Yeah, in chat room. Chat room is in front of me now. Ma'am has helped me in that.
Participants right now. If any more questions are there from the participant side.
Thanks a lot, sir. Your flow is always there, in spite of the fact that we people are keep on interacting by posting question. But your flow is always there, sir. That is the biggest takeaway as far as looking at the other side. Even though we are academician, we used to give a lecture, and we always used to prefer to have a questions at the last, so that we don't want to break our flow. But the way you have deal the things is extraordinary. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Example of flyweight, right? I will just take the example of flyweight, and then we will go ahead. Okay. So the example which I was taking here, it's like these are two, like there are two styles we have. Okay, bold and say calibri, and two style we have which is not bold and something else. Okay. So here it is size is 14, calibri body size 14. Here it is 11 and not bold, right? So do you think we should instantiate 4 different objects of style and associate those objects with these words? Do you think so? In general, in normal flow, yes, we should instantiate 4 objects. But now you want to reduce the weight of your application. How can you reduce the weight of your application? In simple words, to reduce the weight of your applications, remove the number of objects you are creating. So what I will do, I will create only 2 style objects. In those 2 style objects, I will write one style object will contain bold calibri 14, and second style object will contain calibri 11. That's it, no bold. And will associate this second object with Samir and QR, and first object with Sachin and ABC. You have to keep a pool of these type of objects, right? So you have specific style object which can be reused at multiple words, right? Are you with me? So what you have done, you have given a common object, okay, common object which have some specific properties, and that common object is used for different words. And that common object is nothing but flyweight. And why it is called as flyweight? Because it is reducing the weight of your weight of your application. That's why it is flyweight. Okay. So when we are actually coming to this flyweight in real world, if you really check, if we want to go for trekking, okay, if a group of people is going for trekking, not everybody carries everything. Whatever needed, we distribute the responsibility. Okay, and everything is like that responsibility is carried out by one person. It is reducing the weight of each and every person, right? A particular glass to drink water, you need glass, so we can have 3 to 4 glasses, and 10 people can use the same glass, share the same glass. That is what we used to do when I was a kid. But nowadays people are reducing their weight by using the paper glasses and creating the pollution, right? So that's how we used to initially work when there were
Good afternoon, everyone.
yeah.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. Any question, ma'am?
Pushpak, am I audible?
Okay. Okay. So that's how the flyweight pattern comes into the picture. Now, if you really check, give me a moment. The flyweight pattern comes into the structural design pattern. Why? Because it is defining the structure. So what kind of you are reducing the number of objects. It is not defining any behavior. It is just defining the structure. In this structure, your classes should be. In the pool, you have to keep all the classes. Okay, a flyweight is an object that minimizes memory usage by sharing as much data as possible with other similar objects. It avoids creating a large number of expensive objects and instead reuse existing instances of existing instances to represent new one also. Okay. So that's how you can talk about flyweight. I will share all this data with like the Spock and Amit sir. Yeah, with Amit sir, and then Amit sir will share the complete data with you. So I will be sharing the book which I have referred, the links which I have referred, and all these 3 presentations. Okay. Any
Yes,
other
sir.
question? Any other question whether before we close?
Yes, any questions from participant?
Sir, if we want to include this particular subject in our curriculum, I think it's the right way to include in the 5th or 6th semester once the students have got the prior knowledge on Java and object-oriented programming, sir.
Yeah, after object-oriented programming, there are chapters that it is like after object-oriented programming. Once your student understands object-oriented programming, then you have to include this. And when you are doing the best way student can understand it, when you are actually doing the projects. In projects, make sure that people are mentioning about how many design patterns they have used, and the viva or the presentation should include the design pattern evaluation there.
Actually, we are concentrating on web development. In most of the students are taking up the web development project and app development. For that, they are concentrating on presentation layer, UI, or in middleware technologies like that. So where we can fit it, this particular thing, when we are offering a project in the final semester.
Yeah. So you're offering the project. You said that they are using the
MSc.
middle layer. So it
Yes,
is
sir.
like 3-tier architecture they are using. Okay. As soon as you say that they are using any architecture, no architecture can be there without design patterns. Okay. As soon as you say MVC architecture, like model view controller, the controller has to be singleton. It cannot have multiple instances. Okay. As soon as you say MVC architecture, observer pattern is there in MVC architecture. On some events, you are changing the view and the model. From some events there in view, you are changing the model. Okay, or you are updating the model. So without design pattern, we cannot have any architecture. So as soon as you ask, yesterday you have seen the frameworks. In that framework, he has also mentioned about the iterators. I have seen that. He has mentioned about the iterators. He has mentioned about listening to some events, that on this click, you have to write home over here. How can you say we have to write home over here? But AT is the click, and home has to be the action. So it will show the home page over there, right? So you are anyways using all the design patterns. And if anybody has any doubt on designing, on design patterns, how we should target a particular application, I'm anyways available. You can contact me on my email ID, my phone numbers. Okay. So I will share my email ID is already shared, I think. Phone number also is shared with Amit sir, so he can share it. I have no problem at all. Amit sir, you have my phone number and email ID, right?
Yes, sir.
So you can
Yes,
share
sir.
it. You can share it with participants. No problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
So I passed my MCS in I think 1998, but that time also I think this designing problem with how we used to present the design, but we are not with that time we never used to present what patterns we are using and all that stuff. But design you need to present anyway. So now I think if you are including this in your curriculum, you need to ask your student to present what patterns you are using. The reason is pretty simple. If you really check, for every pattern, implementation is there in Java. So if they understand this is a pattern and this is the implementation, they can discuss the same thing during the interviews, and interviews viewers will get impressed because of this. Because generally when we take the interviewers are 2 years, 3 years experienced people, and they know all these things in general. And as I mentioned earlier, design patterns are a way of like it's a language to communicate between two developers, two architects. Okay. So example is if you have used MVC, okay. So what all observers you have used, what all events you were observing. So what are the subjects? So if our students can elaborate it properly in front of the interviewers, it is really good. In general, when I take interviews, if somebody tells me about design pattern, I understand that this person is taking interest in designing the application. When the person is taking interest in designing the application, he will write proper code. So even if I want to just hire a coder, if he has some flavor of designing, I prefer that person over a person who doesn't understand designing properly, but has very good technical knowledge, because technical knowledge can be taught. The thinking cannot be taught. The thinking can be like a person has to develop his thinking. So when I'm developing a code, if I start thinking about the design also, that is an added advantage for me. And in general, if whatever technical knowledge I get in colleges or in curriculum, I rarely use that technical knowledge in companies. That's why company has 3 months, 6 months training again on each and every technology. And what happens is we are just talking about, say, C++, Java, all these type of languages. But the world is very vast. If you go to like say ServiceNow, it has its own language. So then say Salesforce, it has its own language. And rather than say Java and C++, the salary is more in ServiceNow and Salesforce and Remedy, these type of platforms. And these salaries are huge if you really compare with C++ developers or Java developers. It is huge. And I can say confidently this because I have both the practices in my company, and I had like one of the practice in say Amazon. We are AWS practice, and we have ServiceNow practice. So AWS practice also getting paid very well. ServiceNow also getting paid very well. But when it comes to C++, Java, these people are getting paid a bit lesser than this AWS and ServiceNow people. The reason is pretty simple. It is niche area, and you won't get much people in our like trainings. Also, we don't prepare our student to get into ServiceNow or say Salesforce type of platform. Their company has to train them properly, and while training them, they has to just ask them to forget about their Java and C++ background, concentrate on this background. So that's why they are getting paid higher. And when we select people for those type of jobs, we test their thinking, attitude, not their technical knowledge, to be very honest. Any question? Are you with me? Are you getting what I'm trying to
Yes,
convey?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any more questions from participant?
झालं जितते सर.
ओके सर, थँक्यू.
झालं सगळं. थँक्यू.
निलेश सरांचे डाऊट्स क्लिअर झाले म्हणजे सगळ्यांचे झाले.
सगळे झाले निलेश सर. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच निलेश सर. आणि
Thank
तुम्ही
you, sir.
सगळ्यांनी या and you have made this session interactive. I'm really thankful to all of you. You have made this session
Thank you, sir.
interactive. Otherwise, this is a very boring session. If I just keep on talking, this is a very boring session. To be very honest and to be very open with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All these participants are really like interesting participants, and they have made it interactive. They have made me to tell a lot of things rather than I have not gone through my PPT much. I have told extra things apart from this PPT. Okay.
Yes,
All those examples, whatever I have told, it is only because you people have asked me question. Okay.
But those examples had become very effective.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sir,
Yeah.
can we wind up the session right now?
Absolutely. I have no problem.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sagar Chitte from CMCS College. It is my great privilege to propose a vote of thanks. So, on behalf of the CMCS College and HRDC SPPU, I take this opportunity to offer my hearty thanks to Mr. Sachin V. Deshpande sir for such a wonderful session. Sir started the session with very good example of car manufacturing. Sir demonstrated design principle with very good examples. His insightful lecture on software architecture and design pattern was full of wisdom and information. I feel 100% all participants will be able to extract the best results from this session. Once again, thank you, sir, for having spared your precious time for our.
Nilesh sir, I think we have lost you.
Mughal sir, HRDS SPPU, for organizing such a fruitful session for all of us in this pandemic situation. Once again, thank you, sir. I declare that today's session is over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, the authorities, to given me this chance of delivering the session, and thank you all participants for your active participation in this session, which has made this session interactive and interesting. Thank you very much, and I'm always there if you have any doubt. If you have any queries, I will share my contact number, email ID with Nilesh sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very
Definitely.
much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
एंड करू का अरे मी काय म्हणतो पोस्ट कोण होतं सेव्ह तुम्ही करा तुमच्या मशीनवर आता मी तर स्टॉप जर केलं मी तर सेव्ह होईल ते पोस्ट करू का तुम्हाला तिथे होस्ट करू का काय द्यायचं आहे तिथे सेव्ह करा ना एंड तिथनं करा त्या मशीनवर ना त्या मशीनवर एंड होणार नाही तुम्हाला होस्ट करतो म्हणजे तिथं सेव्ह होईल आता तिथं चालू आहे काय त्याचं नाव काय लागेल अमित मोगल आहे ना होस्ट केलं का होस्ट तिथून एंड करा तिथं सेव्ह होईल